A very good morning and warm welcome to one and all. A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It needs sincere desire, willpower, hard work. Yes, indeed, every one of us have a dream. To make our dream to come true, we need someone to show us the way. My dear parents and students, today we have with us our own dear alumni to throw some light on various careers. They will help you to select the right kind of job oriented courses, which will help you to take your career in the right direction. I'm really proud to extend my cordial welcome to our dear alumni who have come forward to share their experiences and enlighten our SSC students on various careers. We are really honored to have with us Mr. Vinay Pinto, the Secretary of SSESA, who worked hard for today's program. And we are blessed with so many eminent speakers like Mr. Peter D'Souza, Mr. Brian Almeida, Mr. Dr. Ranjit Nair, Mr. Sailesh Advani, Mr. Sumit Advani, Mr. Rohit D'Souza, and Mr. Saad Sheikh, who will illumine our minds with their vast knowledge and experiences. So once again, I express my hearty welcome to all our speakers, and my dear boys, may all you have an enriching day today. I'm sure this session would definitely will help you to understand your core interests, areas, aptitudes, and personalities. Would empower you to discover your strengths and weaknesses, and most importantly, would help you to choose the right career as you are at the edge of making the most vital career decision. Once again, I welcome each and every one of you for this session. Thank you and all the best for today. Request Father Felix before we begin our sessions to say a small prayer.
Good morning, friends. Let's pause for a while as we begin this important session, which will shape our lives, future lives. Let's ask for God's blessing, God's grace, God's guidance. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this career guidance session. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Fill us with your grace. Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect our future, and continue to remind us that all that we do today, take the decision, all that we accomplish is for pursuit of truth and for God's greater glory and for the service of humanity. Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving this school as a source of our inspiration and knowledge. We thank God for this alumni who has arranged this beautiful session, keeping in mind the future of the students. We are asked to bless today's resource persons so that they may express themselves with clarity and conviction. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Father, principals, and good morning to all the students of Standard 10, St. Stanislaus. Thank you for joining in on this, I think, third or fourth career guidance program we have put together by SSESA. We are broadcasting live from Bombay. It's a very rainy, cloudy morning, but we have speakers from Bombay. We have a speaker from Dubai, Delhi. It's a completely global set. My name is Vinay Pinto, and I am an ex-student, and I'm joined by Peter, who will also we will try and work out the back end to make sure this program works well for you. So we've started now in the morning, and we will go on till about 1 o'clock. I think we have 8 wonderful speakers. We have a chef. We have marketing gurus who've started companies. We have doctors. We have army colonel. We have HR professionals. So we have a lot of useful ex-students who have so much of wisdom of their career learnings, their choices, what drove them to become what they are. And 20, 30 years ago, they were all in your seat, but they all worked hard, they studied well, and they have reached great heights. So how this will work is that each of the speakers will say their talk, and you can put your questions in the chat box you see on the right hand side of your YouTube screen, and Peter will then field your questions to the speakers, and they will try and address it. So with that, we will start with Brian and Peter. If you can just say a few words about
Yeah.
Brian.
So
So
the students, yeah.
to all of us, and let's get this program underway.
Thanks, Vinay. Thank you, Sister Rokia. Parents, students, a very good morning to you. And I'm from the batch of 1980, so that's rather old. You can see the gray hair. But as Vinay said, once upon a time, right there where you guys are now sitting, it was a crossroad for lots of us. And many of us had some idea of what we wanted to do. A lot of us changed jobs based on what was given to us or how things went along the way. And I'll take you now to our very first speaker, whom I've had the privilege of knowing some of them, is Brian Almeida. Now, a few words about Brian. And Brian is a business leader and an entrepreneur, having grown successful in the next generation organizations, from startups to mid-sized organizations of 200 employees. He has also worked with leading brands like Jet Airways, Taj, the Shoppers Stop, with all their marketing strategies. He's also a fellow of the Institute of Direct and Digital Marketing, a regular speaker on topics such as building customer insights and the use of data in marketing customer strategy. Boys, I urge you to pay careful attention to Brian because his ideas come with passion. And when you do anything with passion, it actually flourishes. So take these insights. My request to you and to parents is, parents, do not make your sons do what you want them to do, but what they would like to do, what they are strong in doing. And our speakers here are very good, starting with Brian, who will take you through his entire pitch and the department that he specializes in. Brian, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Vinay and SSESA and the team at SSESA for organizing this, and the principals, Sister Rokia, Anna Korea, and Father Felix from the management team. Students, good morning to all of you, to you and your parents, and I hope you will enjoy the sessions that we are about to have. My topic has been careers in marketing. Yeah. And there were, just to give you some background, so there was a query whether we should be talking about advertising alone or we should be talking about data. And the reason I took a wider canvas is to talk about careers in marketing is because today careers are, focused on specialization. And being a large audience, there are many areas of specialization which may appeal to different students, right? So in the presentation today, you'll see some slices of different careers that you can make in marketing, and you can choose basis what your skill sets are. Yeah. We'll go to the next one, please, Ravi. So to begin with, I don't know if many of you have heard of this term ikigai. It's a Japanese phrase, yeah. And you're in a lucky generation where you can actually look and choose jobs which are wider, which have, things that you like, things that you dream of. Uh, just to give you a background, like Peter said, in our days, we almost stumbled upon our careers. We finished off from school. We chose between science, arts, and commerce, and we decided to do that, and so on and so forth. And we kind of ambled along in life. Today, the world is so specialized; it offers a whole host of opportunities. And I urge you all to chase your dreams and choose what your purpose in life is. And I'll just explain very, very briefly what it is. So if you look at the different circles, it's about what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for and earn a livelihood, and what the world needs. So when you look at the intersections of these, you'll know whether it's a profession, a passion, a mission, or a vocation. But more importantly, never mind the circles and the Venn diagram that you're looking at. Have belief and have confidence in what you're doing. Yeah, it's been said that in today's age, every individual, by the time they finish their working career, will have about 5 careers that they go through. So it's quite possible that you may change your career midstream, and it is even more likely. The other reason I say this is that a lot more careers these days are focused not on employment with large companies alone, but a lot of individuals have to look at self-employment and how they can use their skills. So this becomes even more interesting, understanding what you are and finding your purpose and what you want to achieve in life. So have belief and have confidence in yourself. Okay. And something will click. So as long as you are able to identify your purpose, you will always find it in life. Yeah. And choose your career carefully. We'll move to the next one, Ravi. So, I'm sure all of y'all would have heard the concept of right brain and left brain, right? Uh, Here, what I want to tell you all is that never mind the small print of the words, on what is right brain, what is left brain. So very quickly, right brain is the creative, the intuitive thought, the perceptions. The left brain is very analytic, logical, quantitative, right? Now, some of us are stronger on the left, some of us are stronger on the right. And what you need to look at is, and more importantly, what I want to leave with you all is that every one of you is an individual in your own right. You all will have a strength. You all will have something that you all are good at. Yeah, God has given you all a strength. It's just about you finding your strength and your skills, right? Uh, and coming to marketing as such, it is about whether you are left brained, right brained, or combination of both, and then choose how you can move forward, right? So, in some of the work that you will now see going forward, I will talk about it at the end of all the videos, but you'll see a combination. So, when I say combination, it is creativity, it is logic, it is data, it is driven a lot by data, and it is a background on how you can make the two work. Now, when you make the two or combine the two, then you can create a spark of ideas, and you can create a spark of business thoughts, and you can create sparks of leadership and entrepreneurship thoughts, right? So when you look at the following videos, just keep that in mind. You can either look at it from different perspectives. Do you like the creative of it? Do you like the solution that it offers? Or do you like some of the technology bits that make it work, right? So I've got 4 videos that we will look through, and we will go through each of them after that. Yeah. And lastly is, remember also one more important thing. It is your attitude which will count more. The skills in today's world can always be picked up. There's a host of online courses, there's a host of knowledge and courses that you can work with online. But it's your attitude to work hard, and to make a success of your career. And by success, I don't mean necessarily only money, but enjoy what you are doing. Yeah, Ravi. So we just click on this little YouTube ad. Yeah, it shows you, when left brain and right brain meets together, what is possible. Just to give you a background while it loads, it's an ad for British Airways in London City. And as you know, if you're in Piccadilly Circus in London, you will hear an aircraft leave every 30 seconds or less, right? So British Airways did this ad, and you'll see the ad now. When Ravi, can you play the ad or?
Yeah, so I'm trying to play the ad, but it's saying the sharing is paused. Hang on. Resume share. Okay, hang on. Sorry. Okay. Just tell me if you can hear that. No, no, hang on. I'm having some. Um, Brian,
Yeah.
I seem to. So I'm sharing it, but it is pausing the share after it gets to YouTube.
Uh,
Is that because they're both on YouTube?
no, not really.
Let me try once again. Your screen. Can you now see it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Uh,
Vinay, can you try copying that URL and opening it separately in another tab?
Yeah, maybe
that.
just copy the URL and show it on.
Okay, and I will do a screen share then.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Okay. All right. Can you see this?
Yep. Yes, you can
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. You just need to press the play now.
Yep, it's fine, Vinay. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Vinay.
Uh,
So if you see that ad, every time a British Airways flight takes off, the hoarding changes and the child in the ad gives the destination a point.
So everyone calls me Vinny. I'm an airport baggage.
oops.
Everyone, looks at the ad and sees and knows which aircraft is flown over and from where it is coming into London, right? So, and that ad, the lines keep changing. It says, "Let's welcome our friends from Poland." The point I make here is, isn't it a beautiful ad? I mean, just imagine that coding connects with a Bluetooth device with the aircraft the data, and then the ad changes and the text on the hoarding changes. It's an award-winning ad, and what I talked about. Therefore, it is creative. It uses technology and it uses the information on the flight, the aircraft flight number. Yeah, and that's how when you combine the two, you can make great things work. Now you look at it from a perspective of creating the ad, and you can be the individual that creates the ad or thinks of it. You can be the person that works on the technology, and so on and so forth. And therefore careers in marketing are now becoming bits of specialization with each area. Yeah, we'll go to the next one now. Yeah, this is again an airline one, which is Delta Airlines, and this focuses a lot on customer service and the importance of customer service when you fly. The sound is.
sent you a link. Can you log in as a student and tell me whether you can see us properly? I sent you a link. You don't know what on your WhatsApp. Now you go in as a student. Let me see if you can get it. Passport and everything. Just see if you can see it quietly and tell me if everything's. See all of what is happening right now. We don't know any feedback because there are two different links. Thanks.
Right. So, if you look at this ad, it's such an important thing when you travel that you get your bag safely when you arrive at your destination, right? If you think of it as a customer and a passenger, but look at what goes on behind the scene, and that is what great customer service can lead to. So when you think of it, you got to think about in customer service, how can you work with such solutions in technology and in terms of delivering what the customer wants. Yeah, we'll go to the next one also very. Uh, so this one is technology in the home and in all the electronics. Just go to the next slide, Vinay. There's a video there as well.
Good morning. Should we get a shower?
What do you see? You're a student now.
Good morning. Groceries.
Sorry.
Oh, I think something happened.
So here again, this is about a lot of y'all would have heard the words of, connectivity between devices, internet connectivity, artificial intelligence. So this is essentially how, devices connect with each other and give you automated solutions. And from a customer's perspective, Samsung then creates a connected home. Now, a lot of y'all will say, this is way out in the future, but this is not actually. This video is actually a couple of years old, and it has already been, tried out in various locations, and the technology exists. So this is something that, one has to look at and see how you can connect technology to make life simpler for the end user. And that's something that I wanted to share with you. We have one more last video, Vinay, and the next one. Yeah, this is Amazon. All of you would have been maybe familiar. The next one has a video. And the sound is. There the sound is. Okay, so just to, we lost the sound on that video, but very simply what it does is, here the technology is, in shopping, you go into a store, all you need to do is pick it up from the shelf rack, put it into your bag, and you need to walk out, okay? The store has all the sensors that picks up what you picked up and invoices you later, and you make the payment. There is no checkout desk. There's no loading. There's nothing like that. You just go into the store, pick it up, and go, right? What that does is it talks about connectivity, it talks about intelligence, and look at the consumer behavior and what you're impacting. Great convenience. You're saving a lot of time, and there's so much of automation and online automation that goes with it. So these 4 videos was to give you all a flavor of where marketing is going, what are its applications, and what kind of applications you can see in marketing, right? And that's where I meant when you say the left brain and the right brain now start to work together. But even if you don't see the working together, you can work on the left brain side of it, the right brain side of it. You can work on the creative bits, you can work on the solutions, and you can work on understanding consumer behavior. So there are many, many, many areas in marketing that one can choose to be associated with. And we'll move on then to the next slide, which very quickly tells you, what kind of careers, what kind of skills, technology,
We seem to have lost Brian.
We seem to have lost Brian. We seem to have lost Brian. We seem to have lost Brian. We seem to have lost Brian.
Sorry, I lost you all. Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. So essentially, what happens is in this, what I'm trying to give you all an illustration. I've just chosen 5 different lines of careers that one can choose in marketing. Essentially, if you start with the advertising and communication, your skill sets would normally be design, visual art, typography, languages. Yeah. And then you will need to pick up on tools like WordPress, Canva, languages, graphic design, Adobe, tools such as those. And what are the programs that you can look at to join? So right in Bandra, there's Spice Institute, there's MICA, which is Mudra's Institute of Communication based in Gujarat. There's XIC, which is based in Bombay in Marine Lines. And various bachelor degrees that you can also choose to get a bachelor's degree and then start to pick a career in advertising. Digital marketing, nowadays, because of the word digital, a lot of it is aligned to social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. And here again, some of the tools and skills that you need to have good at languages. And I don't mean only the English language. You can be a language expert. You can be good at the regional languages, and you can make a career in that. Marketo, HubSpot are some of the tools, Taboola, SEO, SEM, AdWords, things like that in Google. And the courses also, in fact, while you are a student, many people start to do their Google certification, Facebook certification. You can do courses on Udemy and of course, the Bombay University Bachelor of Mass Media. And similarly, therefore, if you move to sales and marketing, the logistics, customer service, CRM, and tools that you need to look at are CRM, LinkedIn. And now you're moving more towards the left brain side of it, of course, which is data analytics and MarTech, marketing technology. And, it's more quantitative. If you're good at statistics, maths, data sciences, computer coding, machine learning, and you'll need to pick up skills such as Excel, Google, Python, R programming. So start with Excel while you're in school, and look at data and cloud technology, and you will can start to make careers in those areas. I think, Vinay, the next one, please. And I've just given you an illustration of some of the career paths, right? There are different routes to the top. You can start with sales, you can start with product management, you can start with media buying, you can start with copywriting, creative, you can start with data analysis and things like that. And each one has a different career path to the top. Yeah. So I'm done with it. It's just to give you a flavor of how marketing has changed and what you can do with a career in marketing. And I hope I've been able to share some valuable insights for you. I'm open for questions.
Brian, can I come in here at a moment? Brian,
I
want to check with you, and for the benefit of all the students, they are currently doing their exams or what. So how would you say, is it because students would have an aptitude to take up marketing? What would you suggest? How do you know someone is really good for marketing, or this is the career they would like? See, you've given us a very interesting talk, which has been fabulous right now. But going at the next step, how would a parent decide that, marketing, they would guide their children, their wards? What is your take on this?
Peter, apart from the point I made on the left brain and right brain, whether you're the creative intuitiveness or the quantitative intuitiveness, today one of the key things about marketing is how are you looking at solutions. And if you have a passion for solving problems or solving consumer problems, because a lot of the ads, if you see, they solve big consumer problems, and marketing is also driving the way businesses are. So if you see all the entrepreneurship and startups today, they are solving problems that you and I face in daily life. E-commerce and home delivery is actually solving a problem of parking, going out, making it convenient. The payments, online payment systems are solving problems. So when you start to look at how you can solve problems, while it may be interpreted as a business sense, it's also, I think, a big marketing intuitiveness, right? And that's what I would say. Look out for that kind of element.
So
of course, you must be extroverted. You must be able to work in teams, and
Brian, before we let you go, for this, what is the path now? If a student wants to take up marketing, please give us a kind of a path that he would have to do the next step after 10th standard. Can you please elaborate on that?
I think most of them would have done an aptitude test and some scoring of their own skills. So the first 2-3 slides was about discover yourself. What are your skill sets? What are you more aligned towards? Are you aligned to quantitative, or are you aligned to the arts?
No, except all that. Yeah.
So if you, there are two ways. Let me give you my own career path. So I did my BSc in maths and stats. And then I went on to do analytics and consumer analytics, right? So customer analytics. So I start to look at transactions and see how people buy, what kind of buying behavior they have. There are others who have taken the arts.
Brian, one minute. I'm getting simpler than that. I don't want to, now you're getting into something complicated. I want to know a simple thing like you did your college. Now from college, you went to a particular institute. What was that path? I want to understand, that in your education field to reach where you are right now, what is it that you did step by step? So after school, you got into college, you took the commerce stream, the science stream, the arts stream, then you specialize. Can you give the students what exactly that you did?
Yeah, so I did my 12th standard in St. Xavier's College.
In arts, commerce, science?
In science. Yeah, and I did my BSc with Math Stats. Then I did my MBA from Bajaj Institute, and that's been my career path.
So, are you saying an MBA is critical for the kind of job you're doing, or for any of these aspirants who are there?
It's helpful, but it's not critical, because if you choose the creative path route, which is you can choose copywriting or filmmaking or ad filmmaking and content solutions. Then you can take an arts course. You'll be good at the languages or sociology, things like that, and you'll have very creative mind. So even if you're a visual art person, then you look at design and the way design works with this.
Okay.
So it depends on what kind of the 5 different verticals I showed on the third last slide. That essentially will be things that you will evaluate.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So any other things? I mean, we haven't had any questions fielded as yet from the student specific questions. So Vinay, if you're on, we could actually take this forward.
Yes,
Vinay.
Yeah, so if you can just, Brian, thanks a lot.
Yeah, most welcome. Pleasure, Vinay.
There is a chance that people, so I've got one question here from Shubham Gala. Is MLM a good career to think of? MLM. I think this is multi-level.
So multi-level
Multi-layer.
marketing.
Yeah,
multi-level marketing. So MLM is normally seen as an individual entrepreneur or a self-employed business, right? So what it does is you enter a field of marketing or a product group, and then you start to do multi-level marketing. That is, you get others to sell the product, and it forms a chain, and they get others, and so on and so forth. And you start to get commissions on all of that. Going forward with e-commerce, I see the prospects of MLM reducing because most people will start to buy direct, and the potential of MLM growth may actually reduce. However, having said that, new models start to create itself all along. So you can create communities on Facebook, you can create communities on different social media and do MLM there as well. And the model for MLM as we know it just now may change. Yeah.
One last quick question from Ron. Does marketing mean advertising?
Absolutely not. And I think the videos made that point. While advertising is what it manifests into communicate it to the end customer. At the back end, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of data that now is required to create the business solution. You would know it as well, Vinay, the product planning, the market sizing, data, all of that are important constituents of marketing, pricing, distribution. So those are very, very important constituents of marketing, and advertising is just one part of it. But like I said, in today's world of specialization, you can choose any one of these fields and specialize it and still be a great success.
I think, Brian,
Yes.
Thank you for this lovely input of yours. And I suppose questions fielded will be able to go back to you. And if required, I think students can contact SSESA, like Vinay said, and probably with your expertise, you could help them out with some suggestions.
Sure.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. My email and LinkedIn ID is I'm always happy to help students from school in their careers.
Thanks, Brian, once again.
Yeah.
And for those of you who want Brian's presentation, if you just write to your principal, we can share all the presentations made with the permission of the speakers, of course.
Yes, surely.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes.
Thank you, Vinay.
Thank you.
Yes, students, we now take you on to Dr. Ranjit Nair. Dr. Ranjit Nair, can you wave your hand out? Yes, so they see you.
Yeah.
And let me do a short introduction for Dr. Ranjit Nair. Ranjit is the Solutions, Germinate Solutions. Am I right on that?
That's right.
Okay. And Germinate is a social media intelligence company focused on helping you understand and act in real time on the thousands of conversations by your stakeholders. See, this is a little intricate, something little different, students. Please pay attention to what I'm saying. German 8 is a social media intelligence company focused on helping you understand and act in real time on the thousands of conversations by your stakeholders. Now, Dr. Ranjit is a PhD, and if you understand PhD, boys, PhD is one of the highest levels in education. It's a doctorate. So after you've done your graduation, then there's a master's, and then to become a doctor in a particular subject is really right up there. So he has done his PhD from the University of Southern California and his Bachelor of Engineering from Walchand College of Engineering. So, Dr. Ranjit, please introduce yourself also once I hand over to you and the batch you were from, because once upon a time you were with these boys. I mean, as you are now, you were sitting on the other end.
Yes.
Listening.
So yeah, I think
over to you.
That was the part about my introduction was missed. That is, I'm a Stanislaus, a proud Stanislaus. I'm from the batch of 1992. So I'm going to start my presentation now. Just allow me a second while I share the screen. Great. Is everyone able to see the screen?
Yes, it's on. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. If I get disconnected, I will sign back on. So today in these times of COVID, we have to be patient with internet dropping and things like that. Okay, so let's start with what I'm going to talk about, which is I'm going to talk about a career in IT, right? But before that, a little bit about myself. So firstly, I'm a computer scientist and an entrepreneur. I'm the CEO of Germinate. It's primarily a software product company. We also help with, so it's basically software development and analytics. Prior to starting Germinate, I was a research scientist at Honeywell Labs, and I was building software for the US government. This was for their Department of Defense. I did my PhD in computer science, and my specialization was in artificial intelligence. And I finished in 2004. So this was before AI was as sexy a term as it is today. I had a short stint at Mahindra BT, where I was a software engineer for a year. And prior to that, I did my engineering, a bachelor's in engineering from Walchand College of Engineering in Sangli. But most importantly, I'm an ex-Stanislaus from the batch of 1992. So let's first get a high-level idea of what is IT. This is a term that gets bandied about a lot. And so let's kind of define things so that we're very clear that we're talking about the same thing. Right? Today, there is not a single field that is not touched by computers, right? So whether it's the field of marketing, like Brian talked about, right, where he himself highlighted the use of technology in marketing, or fields like medicine, politics, governance, even the social sectors, every single field is touched by computers. Okay. And if you think about computers, really, there are a lot of terms that get thrown around. So there's computer science, which is really about writing software, right? It's about writing code. There's computer engineering, which is really about building computer hardware. And then there's IT, which is about using these computers and working with data. Right? But we're not going to split hairs. We're going to call all three things as IT today, and we're going to refer to them as one. Right? Okay, so let's talk about, so what are some of these IT jobs that are there, right? So that we understand what we're really talking about. This field is extremely diverse, right? And it's extremely specialized. And there's lots of jargon, right? So we need to, sometimes we'll have to dissect that jargon to really understand it. So, you talk about today, probably arguably the biggest IT related term that you hear about is artificial intelligence. So there's AI, but people also talk about IoT and big data and deep learning and data science and machine learning and fintech. And so there's so many terms that it can actually be quite confusing. Right? Let's talk about what these different fields of IT or computers are, and what is involved in these kind of jobs. So computer science is really where you're doing software architecture. There's elements of software design, software development, and there's testing. Right? With computer engineering, it's about computer architecture. So that's the actual architecture of the hardware. There's design of the hardware, there's hardware fabrication, and then there's testing. And with what one calls IT, there's information architecture. You do system design, there's implementation projects where you're bringing in different softwares together. There's database management and security and networking and maintenance and analytics. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this whole field of computers. I'm just throwing up a few logos here, and these are companies which all of you would have heard of, right? There are a lot of familiar names in there, like Facebook and Microsoft and Netflix and Amazon and Google, right? These are all companies behind which there is very, very strong IT, lots of IT professionals behind this, and many of these are technology companies that you have worked with, that is, you've used their products, and they touch our lives every single day. Now, what does an IT professional look like, right? This is what we think they look like, right? We think of someone very geeky, someone maybe like me with glasses, right? This is when one thinks of an IT professional, this is the image that is conjured up. But this is what they really look like, right? It's pretty normal, everyday people working together, each performing different kinds of tasks, and working in teams together to build cool software products, to build computer hardware, and so forth. Okay. I just wanted to put that up there because a lot of people, especially early on, get turned off by computer science and IT because they think of it as being a very nerdy field. It's only after they get a little bit older, they realize that it's not that way. And maybe by then you haven't picked up the requisite skills that will make you successful in an IT career. So if you're going to work in the field of IT, where would you be working? Right? You could be working for an IT services company like a TCS and Infosys, etc. IT services companies, what a services company does is they build IT solutions for other companies. So it's not that they're building a software product for themselves, they're doing it for somebody else, right? And these are sometimes extremely complex implementations where they would take some solutions from, say, an Oracle and implement it, work on top of it, integrate it with a lot of existing legacy systems. So it can be sometimes very, very complex work. Right? But they're not building any intellectual property of their own. Maybe there is some intellectual property around processes and so forth, but the core technology is something they pass on to somebody else, to the end customer. Or you could be working for a software product company. And the distinction I want to make here is that in a product company, you're building a software product which that company continues to own, and then they sell it to they sell the product, either they license it out or they have consumers who are using it, right? So things like Google or Facebook or Microsoft, all of these are software product companies, but there are also, these are all consumer facing software companies. You also have B2B software companies, software product companies like, say, an IBM or an Oracle, right? Or my company, Germinate, which is also a B2B software product company. You could work for a computer company that's making actual computer hardware, like an IBM or a Dell or an Apple or a whole host of others who make very cool computer hardware, right? You could be working for a research lab like MIT Labs, or where I was working in the early start of my career at Honeywell Labs, right? So there you're doing research work, which could be for a government entity, it could be for research that translates into an actual product later or you could be working within a company's own IT department. So let's say you're working for a bank, but you're working in the IT department of that bank, or you're working for, say, a company like a telecom company like a Vodafone or an Airtel, but you're working in the internal IT department of that company. Or you could be an entrepreneur who starts his own IT company, like a Bill Gates or a Steve Jobs, or close a home like a Narayan Murthy. So let's think about what that day-to-day job looks like. And it will differ a bit based on whether it's computer science or pure IT, or whether it's computer hardware. But generally, you would break it down into these steps where you're gathering requirements, right? Gathering requirements is basically where you do your research, you talk to the customer, you understand what their pain points are, you understand what you actually need to build, how you're going to, what their needs are. Then there's problem solving, where you're actually trying to figure out what is the solution that's going to meet those requirements. You're trying to, this is where there's some amount of creativity, there's some amount of analysis and analytical work that goes here, where you're actually coming up with a solution. Then you need to design the solution, right? And the designing part is both the creative front-end design and the user interface and how people will actually use that solution. And also, but also the design of design and architecture that goes behind the scenes. Next is the actual programming, where whatever has been designed, that's when you actually code it out, right? Then there's testing. Testing is an extremely important phase. This is where you identify whether there are any mistakes that are there that have been made inadvertently. There's also you understand whether there are any glitches in the way people would use it, things you had not anticipated earlier. And then there's troubleshooting and bug fixing, where once you identify the bugs, you actually go ahead and program the fixes and check whether the fixes actually work. But importantly, you're always going to be learning, because there are new technologies that keep coming in that displaces old technologies. There's new problems to be worked on. So there's continuous learning in an IT job. An IT job is also largely sedentary. You're going to be sitting down. A lot of us in different fields have been sitting down largely in the last couple of years because of coronavirus, but more so in IT, right? So you'll need to work out, you'll need to be able to stay fit. And so that's the given, you'll have to keep doing that. Let's talk about, so one question that comes up with for both students as well as parents is, what's the future going to be? Is this a career that has a future? What is my future going to look like? So let's first talk about the future of IT. Right? One thing, at least, the future is really unknown, right? With a lot of things we can't predict. But from what we know today, this seems to be a field that is here to stay. And maybe I will, it is. That's not to say that it is not going to be disrupted, right? In fact, it's one of those things where the field itself is disrupting itself, right? So there's new technologies which make older technologies obsolete. So for example, maybe about 30 years ago, computers looked very different than they did today, right? There were mainframes in many various organizations. Now those mainframes were disrupted by desktop computers. Smartphones have disrupted feature phones, right? The old Nokias, which had those buttons that you had to press. Cloud computing has disrupted companies who had their own private infrastructure, especially with since the coronavirus pandemic. A lot of companies had to move to the cloud. So the field itself is getting disrupted. And also certain IT jobs within the field could get disrupted. So for example, because of automation and AI, a lot of testing has become completely automated. Right? Chatbots are disrupting these call centers, which are also considered IT jobs, right? So chatbots are disrupting them in a big way. You don't need as much manpower as before. And even things like writing code is getting disrupted by AI. I have young nephews who talk to me, they tell me they're building an app. And I said, how are you building an app? Do you know programming? And they said, no, we don't need to know programming to make an app, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. And in a way, it's IT is disrupting itself. It's changing things so that the nature of jobs will change. but IT as a field is going to be here, is a field it's here to stay. Some of the subjects that are at the forefront of IT are things like artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'll just spend a minute to explain what this is. So AI is all about getting computers to do things smarter, right? To get them to do things which are which one normally associates with human intelligence. Machine learning is a subfield of AI, which is focused on getting computers to learn to do tasks. So they, with more data, with more experience, the system is supposed to get better and learn tasks and learn to do these tasks better. Right? Both of these fields, both of the terms are sometimes conflated, but it's these are both very, very important fields today, and they're fields which are getting a lot of attention. Then there's big data, which is all about being able to deal with large, huge volumes of data. This could be sensor data that's coming in from an oil rig. It could be social media conversations like we deal with at Germinate, which is conversations that are happening on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, etc. It could be data that's sitting in a call center of a company. It could be financial data that's getting generated at a bank. So all of these are huge volumes of data, and you need the big data is that field which deals with being able to clean up that data, process that data, query that data, and come up with insights from that data. Cloud computing is all about being able to host infrastructure, to have shared infrastructure that doesn't reside in your own premises, right? And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about compute. Essentially, I'm talking about computing infrastructure. That is, computers which are hosted by companies like an Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or Google Computing Cloud. So these are all cloud computing companies, and you can rent out computer infrastructure and pay for it by the hour if you want. Right? The next is blockchain, which is again a very, very revolutionary idea. I think it requires a talk by itself. Then there's analytics, which is really about churning, really about making sense of data. It need not be huge, large volumes of data like big data, but it's really about getting looking at data, coming up with insights and making recommendations. Okay, now coming to your own future in IT and how bright that is, right? So this data is a little bit old, but there were 2 million IT jobs created worldwide in 2020, right? That's of which 13% is going to be in India. So we're talking about, if I say 13%, we're talking about 260,000 or 2.6 lakh IT jobs in India. Salaries are, the starting salaries are pretty high. It's, I'm talking compared to other careers. Usually it's in the 3 to 10 lakhs a year, but you will hear about a few exceptional people getting a salary of say even 1 crore a year. But I'm talking about like really, really exceptional folks. There are subfields like data analytics, machine learning, and AI, which today they fetch the highest salaries within IT. There are lots of opportunities for travel, both for long-term projects as well as to migrate to other countries. This is obviously going to be after the pandemic is over. But there is, like I said, the field is getting disrupted. There are lots of changes. There were about 56,000 layoffs in 2017 and 18 combined. Right? But that's a small number compared to the number of jobs which are getting created. The future is bright, but you have to constantly learn and adapt so that you don't become obsolete yourself. You need to make sure you're not, overly tied to a particular technology or domain. Like for example, some people say they say, oh, I'm a Java programmer, or uh, uh, a .NET programmer, or I work only on Oracle, or I do this thing with this little obscure Microsoft technology. Now, that's all well and good, but make sure that that's not all you're good known for. Right? You need to
Ranjit,
make
can I
because
stop you here for a moment, Ranjit?
yes, sure, yeah,
Ranjit, you're talking to an aspiring bunch of young boys who are waiting to take up a career. Now,
yes,
most of them are going to have some time after their 10th standard, which is now, and there are so many, offerings in the market. Do Python, do Java Plus. Would you say that something like this would help them or take them to a different level? Would they get a job with something that they do right now, which is not a college oriented but job oriented course? Suppose
yeah.
someone takes up job, courses are expensive. I mean, they're 15,000, 20,000 rupees for a year. I mean, sorry, for a few months or maybe for 1 month. Would these help students in getting a job later on? I mean, you are right up in the ladder, but we are talking of entry level now. What would these students, if I want an IT, okay, if I'm fixed with IIT, VJTI, or like a technical course with a college, it's all right. But what if I am an art student who wants, or a science student who wants? Will these courses help me to get there, or do companies look at people with only IT degrees or certification?
So it helps if so. In terms of a career path, the most common career path would be to do your 11th and 12th in science, do a bachelor's degree in engineering, in either computer science or IT, or electronics, and then join an IT company. Right? Most IT companies today hire first from engineering colleges, and if they're not able to meet the needs that they have, then they start looking elsewhere. Uh, and many of them, even if they're taking, they might take students from who did a BE in mechanical engineering, because they're saying that it doesn't matter what you've learned in college, we're going to put you through some internal training, which can be sometimes 6 months long, where they train you to become a good software engineer, right? So that's the most common path. There is for the really better paying jobs, the ones which are more sought after. Uh, People look for not just what you've studied. That helps maybe getting you the interview, but they're really looking to see what you've done on the side. Right? So, what other courses have you taken? What practical experience have you had? Have you done internships in your summer breaks? Have you built any apps of your own? So
Yes,
they're looking
exactly.
they're looking to see what you've done, what kind of passion you show for the field, more than the degree, over and above the degree that you've earned. Right.
So, is there a
So
special name? I mean, is there a special message out to our students right now, to the boys and their parents?
yeah, so I think this is a slide I had on that, right? Which is the
Okay,
message
we'll take it
really
when you
is
come there.
learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think I'll maybe start getting a little faster because so that we get back on schedule. So these are the kind of skills you will need. You need to be very curious. You need to be able to innovate and think out of the box. Make sure you're focused on the math courses that you're doing right now in school itself in 11th and 12th. It's that mathematical and analytical bent of mind is very important. Creativity is an underrated skill, but it's something that is so important in building good IT solutions that people can actually use. Empathy is also, something that is really, really important. It's the difference between a good IT solution architect and someone who's just average. The ability to understand the pain points of customers, being able to really feel what it would be like to use the product from their shoes. Right? You also need patience and an ability to focus. And lastly, you need to be able to work in teams. Now, coming to the question which Peter asked, which is how do I prepare myself for this IT job? Right? So, So the first thing is you need to learn how to code, right? And honestly, you don't need to sign up for an expensive online course for it. There are plenty of free courses. It's really the task of coding is really a very hands-on thing. You need to just do it on your own, maybe with friends, but it's not about paying huge amounts of money for courses. Look for problems that need solving. Look for things that your friends are doing. Look at or challenges that they're facing in their everyday lives, and make your own apps for it. Right? It doesn't matter if those apps don't have thousands of downloads. You're right now building it just to learn. Right? But you can actually build your own apps, put it out there, let people try it out, give you feedback. Uh, uh, that's really what you're really trying to learn and get and improve your skill set. Take online courses. These need not be, the courses like on White Hat Junior and etc., which are expensive. But it could be, there are courses on Khan Academy, on just on YouTube, right? There are plenty of courses which are free. If you wanted to get into something like, let's say, you've done your initial courses and you want to get even more advanced, believe me, even those more advanced courses are also available free, right? So you need to don't spend ridiculous amounts of money on this until you're really sure that this is the career for you. Focus on doing well in mathematics. And like I said, there are many paths to an IT future. The most common one is a BE, BTech, but you could also do diploma courses. You can do a BSc in IT. You can even choose to do a master's or an MTech, or do a PhD like me. Or you could just be a dropout like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. But honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. There's a reason why there are only so few Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, because the others didn't make it. So in summary, this field of IT is an extremely diverse field. There are a huge number of people. There's lots of money to be made. It's a well-paying job. There's a fair amount of job security. It touches almost every single field. And it gives you a chance to make a difference in people's lives, because many of these IT products can be life-changing or life-saving. And it also helps keep you, it keeps you intellectually challenged. To be successful, you're going to need to be analytical. You should love problem solving, and you should be the kind of person who never stops learning. And it's really never too early to start. You should start building your own apps, take online courses on Coursera and other online platforms, and start right now. Thank you.
Ranjit, we have one more question for you. Can you hear me, Ranjit?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Commerce students, art students are also asking future for us, because there are a lot of them who want to do commerce, who want to do arts, and IT is also looking, and they want to get into IT. You specifically spoke about engineering and maths.
Yeah.
What about these other students from other streams? Will companies look at them?
So they will look at them. It depends on the role, right? So for example, there are, let's say if you're building an app, for instance, right? There's a lot of things around user interface, the UI, UX, which are very, very creative or creatively oriented. And you're looking here for people with who are more, who have background in graphics, or are able to understand consumers. So that's going to play a big role. So in fact, in companies like Google and others, the teams are extremely diverse from various different backgrounds. Just because you don't choose to do engineering doesn't mean that IT is out for you. I just wanted to make that point that it is a little bit harder to get into certain fields. The opportunities would be fewer if you don't have an engineering degree. That's all.
Okay, and coming back, somebody has asked us very specifically, please ask Ranjit sir to elaborate more on machine learning and the jobs available with that.
Okay, so machine learning is, so like I said, it's it's an extremely interesting field. It's really about being able to teach computers, or other computers to be able to learn on their own from data. Right? The applications of machine learning are really diverse. So right from being able to translate from one language to another, right, to being able to understand whether a medical image like an X-ray or a CT scan, whether it shows whether there is cancer there, right? That's all of that is things which are problems which are being solved using machine learning.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So machine learning involves first, the most common examples of machine learning involve first labeling data. Basically, maybe it's the data. When I say data, it could be a photograph, right? And when I say labeling, we're basically saying some human is tagging different parts of that image, for example, to say that, oh, I see a dog in this image, and those are the pixels which represent the dog. Or I see or I see Peter in this image. This is Peter's face, right? So the data gets labeled, and then it's processed using machine learning algorithms. There are a whole bunch of different algorithms already out there, and new ones that computer scientists are developing. And once you have what is called a trained model, that model is then used on live data to make predictions.
Okay.
Now, so that's really what's happening behind the scenes with machine learning. In a machine learning career, there are very, very simple low-level jobs which involve just simple things like data tagging. Right? So someone's actually labeling and creating the data set. It doesn't require even a degree to do that. Right? Then there is more high-end work, which is actually applying existing machine learning algorithms and coming up with solutions using machine learning. This involves, you need to understand the algorithms, how they work, which is the right algorithm, and so forth. So it is very involved work, and that's the majority of machine learning is around that.
Dr. Ranjit, I think that's a nice idea. No, a clear picture of what you've given. You've given us a very simple but effective picture. And the thing is that we've got our next speaker also waiting.
Yes, sorry for getting over.
No. But it's been really interesting, and I'm sure students are going to get back to you because you're one of the key fields. I don't know what percentage of students are going to take your field, but it's something which is really evolving. But thank you so much. And once again, proud to have you as a Stanislaus. I think the boys have identified with somebody also who is right up there, and they would be comfortable with parents, and through SSESA, of course, get in touch with you. Thank you, Dr. Ranjit, once again.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Students and parents, I now take you to the next speaker we have with us is Andrew Simoes. Andrew, are you there? Yes, we can see Andrew now. And students, before hi, Andrew, welcome to the career guidance course. You can see you're smiling with the rains all around you. I don't know if you're in India right now, but
oh yes, I am in India, very much in India, in Juhu right now.
Okay.
From my in-laws' place, and I think it's raining even heavier here than it is in Bandra right now.
No, you can see the bright sunshine in Stanislaus behind me, so it's okay. But coming back to this, boys and parents, let me introduce Andrew Simoes. Andrew is a manager in finance, risk, and shared services at Michael Page. And for those who don't know, Michael Page is a leading international recruitment and hiring firm with currently 140 offices and a network that spans 36 countries around the world. It's big. Andrew has a BE from Mumbai University, an MBA from NMIMS Nasimuji, and has also done his licentiate with Trinity College in London. So, pity we don't have much time, otherwise we would have asked Andrew for a performance in music also on this show. And these are all solo piano performances. But Andrew, I'll hand them over to you. You have to mention to people what is the the batch you are from and the career path. And of course, you being the professional in recruitment of jobs, you could tell them what companies are really looking for. Thank you, Andrew. It's over to you.
Thanks so much, Peter. So what I will do to begin with, I'll just share my screen. Yes. Okay, can you guys see? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So guys, to begin with, I'll just talk a little bit more about myself too. So exactly what Peter says, he gave my introduction. One thing that was missed is, I'm of course a Stanislaus and a very proud Stanislaus. I graduated from the 2004 batch. And I'm quite convinced that our batch was the best batch that has qualified from Stanislaus, at least from the batches that I've seen before. But I'm sure you guys will also give us some competition. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about human resources as a career. Right. And to begin with, I wanted to start off with a question. Okay, now I know that you guys are not live and cannot answer me, and I would ideally much prefer it if that were possible. But since it's not, I want you to use your YouTube comments to identify this guy on the screen. Who's this guy? I'm going to wait 20 seconds to see if you guys are paying attention and inputting stuff on the YouTube comments. Who's this guy? Anyone? Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Actually, no, not Bill Gates. Yeah, I mean, he's an old guy. Yeah, somebody's got it. Geeta Naidu. Okay, Geeta. I'm assuming Geeta is the mother of. So, prize for you, Mr. Naidu. Yes, it is Sir Alex Ferguson, right? So. A little bit background on Alex Ferguson. He was manager of Manchester United Football Club for something like 26 years, right? And during his time, Manchester United won 38 trophies, including several Premier League titles and, of course, Champions League titles as well. Now, what is it about Sir Alex? We all know that he's the legend, the greatest manager of all time, right? What is it that really set him apart? When I was analyzing what Sir Alex did, and besides, of course, his expertise in football itself, there were broadly three things that he did well, right? He was able to identify talent very early on and very successfully. So he groomed guys like Wayne Rooney, like Paul Scholes, like David Beckham from a very early age. And he identified them, got them in, and made sure they were part of the club. He also made sure that they got the right training while they were at the club through the right coaches. And he ensured that the environment was so great that these guys stayed with him throughout his tenure, right? Of course, Beckham left a little early, but largely the core of Manchester United remained the same from the 90s well into the 2000s. And finally, he took the right decisions at various points of time on people's careers, right? So when it came to certain matches, a clear example was the Champions League final in '99, when Alex made a very critical substitution and got somebody who was not performing that well on the field out and made a decision which turned the tide in Manchester United's favor, right? So the point that I'm making here is Sir Alex got the right people in, he trained them and ensured that they stayed, and then he managed their performance, right? What am I trying to get at with all of this by giving Sir Alex as an example? Sir Alex was a consummate and a great HR professional in his own right? And we're going to extend that example a little bit to the rest of the presentation to understand more in detail as to how HR, what is involved in HR, what you can do to become an HR professional, what sort of individual should become an HR professional, and finally, what are the various careers that are available if you choose HR, right? So with that, I move to the context for HR, right? So why do you need HR? If you look at the three things that are on your screen right now, you'll see a factory, you'll see a product, which is something that all of us aspire to and some of us own, an iPhone, and you'll see a place where the product is sold, a shop, right? Now, if you look at these three, there are business decisions that are required to be made at every stage of the way. If we are to launch a new product, we need to make a business decision to launch that, right? If we need to set up new capacity to start a new factory, we again need that's an important business decision because it requires a lot of capital and a lot of investment. If we need to sell in a new place, that also requires us to make a lot of arrangements to be able to sell. what is common between all these three things is, of course, people, right? Every business decision is ultimately a people decision. If you do not get the people on your side, nothing is going to be successful, right? And there are numerous examples of that throughout history, including from Apple itself. I'm sure many of you would have read about Apple's issues at the factories in Taiwan, where individuals were working excessively long shifts, right? And not to belabor that example, but if you do not, ultimately every business issue is a people issue, right? And that's the biggest takeaway from here. So having established the fact that every business issue is a people issue, we come to what exactly HRM is. Right now, out here, I've got a quote by the founder of IBM, which is one of the greatest companies of the 20th century. It essentially, I've tried to define what human resource management is here. But if I look at the core and I take away all the jargon, it's essentially looking at your people, ensuring that you first of all have the right people, and then enabling them to be able to deliver a positive and substantial impact on the business, right? That is all HR is. And what could this involve, right? Now, we had Ranjit speaking before, and he gave us an example of numerous jobs in IT. And I omitted to mention, but I also have 3 years of experience in IT before getting into HR, right? So first thing is, you've got to design the right job for the right individual. So if for example, you have someone who is a good computer programmer, a young guy who's come out of his engineering, and he wants to be a good computer programmer, and you put him into testing, that is probably something which he would not enjoy, right? And I'm sure all of you also identify with that, right? And I'll take the example of sports. If you are if you're on the cricket field and you are a good bowler, but your captain decides to send you in at number 1, opening the batting, how would that, I mean, you would not particularly enjoy that, right? Facing the music from the opening bowlers. Or if you're a fielder at who enjoys fielding on the outfield, and you suddenly get thrown into slips, you're not going to enjoy that either, right? So the first principle is, you got to design the right jobs for the right people. You got to bring them on board, train them, and then, of course, you got to ensure that they continue to deliver at the highest level possible, right? So it's very simple if you look at it. It's just about getting the right people and enabling them to do their job properly, right? So why would anyone choose a career in HR? So I can tell you guys that when I started off, I never intended to choose a career in HR, right? I wanted to be a technology guy. I happened to do my MBA, and I stumbled upon this career. As I got into it, I realized that there are a number of things out here that make it very attractive, right? And the first is that you have an impact on a large number of people. HR professionals are probably the only professionals in the company, apart from the CEO, who actually have an influence on pretty much the entire organization. And when you think about it, organizations in India, especially companies like TCS or Tata Motors or Reliance Industries, these are companies which have 4 lakh, 3.5, 4, 5 lakh individuals as employees, right? HR professionals, because by virtue of the fact that they deal with those people, get a chance to have an impact on all those individuals. Crisis situations, right? And we are in the middle of one right now. The individuals who make sure that everything is going all right for the employees, that employees are getting what they need, that they're getting the rest that they need, that they're getting the infrastructure to work from home in this particular situation, that they are that their mental health needs are being taken care of, if they have a particular personal situation, how can the organization support them? Because I'm sure you understand that very often your manager is not completely empowered to support you completely if you have a crisis, right? Because managers also work within timeframes, they work within projects. So then you go to HR, and HR is able to support you. HR also opens up the potential to a number of career paths, right? So besides, of course, being an HR manager or an HR leader in a firm, you can get into a role in HR consulting. You can do recruitment and search consulting, which is what I do. And you can also get involved in HR technology, which is a very interesting field. That's sort of a combination of what Ranjit spoke about earlier. and what I'm speaking about now, where you look at human capital as your ultimate objective, and you develop technology to support that, right? HR also has a very high earning potential. Okay, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later when when I talk about the colleges and the path towards HR. But it's safe to say that someone from a good institute in human resources, who's done an MBA in HR and has worked for about 10 years post that, would comfortably be earning between 40 and 50 lakhs a year, right? That's an average that we see in the market. Another key aspect is being a strong HR professional will positively influence everything else that you do. Now, some companies are too small to have an HR department, but a key distinction to make is between the HR department and the HR function. The HR function exists wherever you go, right? And even if you have a company of 2 people, you need to pay those 2 people, right? So the compensation factor is required. If you have a company of 2 people, you need to recruit those 2 people, right? So that activity, the HR activity, requires to be done. If you become better at that, irrespective of whichever field you're in, whether you take marketing or IT or whatever it is, this will positively influence every interaction that you have, right? And if you get to know a little bit more about what people want and how to make people work together, you could be a scientist for all that matters. You will eventually require to work with people and get them on your side, right? So if you understand a little bit more about human resources management, this will influence every field that you choose positively. And finally, yes, a great refreshing part of human resources is the fact that every day is different. People are not like machines. They're different. They throw up different challenges every day. And there's no day in the life of a human resources professional that is the same, right? So so these are reasons to choose a career in HR. I'll talk a little bit about the path to HR now, to a career in HR management. And of course, the one that you see on the left side of your screen is the more commonly trod path. You go for any bachelor's degree. This could be a bachelor's in science, commerce, arts, in a college of your choosing, right? And the other alternative, what you'll be extremely surprised to hear, is that the most common degree for HR professionals is actually engineering. So a number of individuals start off their lives wanting to be engineers or wanting to take some other quantitative field, and they end up doing their MBA and they end up in HR, just exactly like me. So I work in a recruitment consultancy. So our HR vertical, of all the CVs that we see, about 50% of them are engineers or former engineers, if you like, right? Then after you take your bachelor's degree, you could either work for a couple of years in your field, or you could straight away go for an MBA. The best colleges in HR which offer an HR MBA in India are, of course, headed by a Jesuit institution, XLRI, right? Xavier Labor Relations Institute, Xavier Institute of Management. This is in Jamshedpur. It has a lovely campus. I've been there myself, even though I didn't study there. I went there for actually a sports festival. It's got a lot of the same vibe as what we experience in St. Stanislaus, the Jesuits and their special method of education. So it's very difficult to get into. I would say it's a little harder to get into than Stanislaus. But if you really want to make a career in HR, I would advise you to set your sights on XLRI. Right. Other options, of course, this Tata Institute of Social Sciences. This does not offer an MBA, but it offers an MA, which is equivalent to an MBA. Right. Then you have Symbiosis Center for Management and HR Development. This is in Pune, MDI in Gurgaon, SP Jain in Mumbai, and NMIMS in Mumbai. Right. Of course, the IIMs also offer strong HR courses, but the IIMs are not the best when it comes to HR management. Probably these colleges that you see in front of you would be better options. Right. The entrance exams that you require to take to get into these colleges, this is, of course, after your bachelor's. The ZAT, it's a particularly difficult entrance exam with a lot of focus on logical reasoning and quantitative study. TISNET, SET is the Symbiosis entrance exam. There is the CAT, which a lot of you will eventually, some 6 or 7 years down the line, be aspiring for, which is the entrance exam for the IIMs. And then there is the NMAT, which is to get into NMIMS, right? Now, interestingly, guys, all these exams, whether it's the ZAT or the CAT or the NMAT, the syllabus for these exams is nothing more difficult than you are learning currently in your 9th and 10th standards, right? So all advanced concepts in maths, which you learn in 11th and 12th, or what you learn later on, are not required for these tests. So technically, what you guys could do right now is actually pull down sample question papers and actually consider solving some of these yourselves, so that you already start honing your skills to take entrance tests and crack them successfully from now, right? Again, I repeat, everything that you require to learn in maths, especially, and in logic, you already know on account of the fact that you have done your 10th standard. So it's all about volume and geometry and rectangles and triangles, and none of the advanced calculus stuff that you learn later, right? So that's my advice to you. Get started with that now. The second path to an HR career is any bachelor's degree. Again, probably an arts degree would be the most suitable. You do an MA in psychology, and from there, you get into directly into the workforce, right? I think if you look, if MBA constitutes the bulk of candidates that we see, I think MA is probably a distant second, but still a second. Right. So again, the best colleges probably to do this course would be, again, the Jesuit institutions. You have Xavier's in Mumbai, you have Xavier's in Calcutta, and then of course you have Delhi University, which offers a number of colleges which can give you a chance to do this course. Right. You don't require a special entrance exam to get into a BA or an MA course. You have to go through the normal application process on the basis of your 12th standard marks and your subsequent bachelor's degree. Right. Good. So that's HR. That's the way to get to a career in HR. Now, when should you consider a career in HR, right? You guys are probably thinking, I know how to get there. Why should I, what are the qualities that I should exhibit that make me a good HR professional? So first of all, if you are good at team sports, right? And, when I was in Stanislaus, we were extremely passionate about team sports, right? Whether it was football, basketball, hockey. I'm hoping that that's the same, but we used to beat every, pretty much every team that came in front of us. So if you are good at team sports, and I don't necessarily mean that you have to have, you have to be the best player, right? But being good at a team sport also requires you to be able to work as a team, to be able to, build up someone who's maybe not doing that well, to be able to motivate that person, to rely heavily on your teammates. Like when passing the ball, for example, you need to, it's an invisible understanding that happens between people. It's not like I'll necessarily shout out, pass the ball, right? You know. Right. So developing that sort of knack between each other is something that's seen in team sports. And a number of HR professionals who have done really well have been good sports players, especially in team sports during their time. Right. Even if you are not particularly good at a team sport, but if you have that desire to work in a team, you could consider HR as a career. Right. You have a high emotional quotient. This is, of course, a term that's being increasingly used these days, as opposed to intelligence quotient. You talk about emotional quotient, right? And I'm sure you guys would have had some courses around that. If you can understand people, if you can read people, if you can figure out what is actually going through a person's mind, taking into account all the cues that they're giving, which includes non-verbal cues, you could consider HR. If you have good communication skills, and when I'm not only talking about English, I mean, the ability to get your point across in whatever language that you're comfortable with. And if you enjoy working with people, that is something you could consider. And finally, the last one, which is sometimes misunderstood, HR is not only about, going out there and talking to a lot of people. It's also quite quantitative in nature, given the current trends of HR analytics. HR professionals need to be able to run regression analysis, need to be able to use statistics well. So if you have a good, and the best HR professionals out there are guys who are good at these skills as well, right? So if you have good mathematical skills, you could also consider a role in HR, right? Finally, I come to the specialist roles in HR that you see. Of course, there's the overall HR generalist role, but besides that, the guy that you see out here with the with the megaphone and the slate, that's the recruiter. So this is the guy. This is what I do. I go out there. I try to get people to join companies. I ask them what they do. I evaluate their CVs, and then I line up interviews. Right. You see this kid in front of the screen. That is the HR technology field, right? Which is, like I told you, a very strongly developing field. There is training and development. So these are the individuals who make sure that skills are continuously upskilled, that everyone in their individual skill, whether their skills are marketing, IT, operations, that there are continuous trainings and development of skills along the way. There is the comp and ben guys. So this is an interesting one. These are the guys who are in charge of designing salaries for the entire company, and that's another field that sits with HR. So if you enjoy being in control over how much every employee is making, that's a field for you. This is also quite an analytically heavy field. You will need to understand trends, market trends. You will need to understand statistics, and you will also need to understand where your company is pegged with regards to the market, because every company cannot be the best paymaster, right? So this is a very interesting and challenging field. And finally, you have the performance management field, which you see at the end, which is the guys who make sure that employees are performing well, try to support individuals who are not performing, and chart out sort of a plan for them to make sure that their performance can be turned around, right? Finally, guys, what I want to say is that these are all the specialist roles. Finally, if you take them all together, you have the HR generalist role. If you are considering a career in HR, please remember that it offers you an opportunity to be a genuine business partner to the most important individuals in the organization, right? So the role of HR is not that of organizing events, for the organization. That's a common misconception. You will be a genuine strategic partner to the chief executive officer, to the chief financial officer, and indeed, in increasing number of Fortune 500 companies, you have the CHRO, or the chief human resources officer, eventually getting the role of the CEO, right? Which is the ultimate business leader. So consider HR, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to hear them.
Andrew, thank you. That was really enlightening. But like I would tell all the boys who are listening to us, HR, after about 35 years of work experience, or 30 years of work experience with multinationals, the HR person, boys, please understand, is a very, very, very important person. You have to have an HR person who can guide you also. And I'm sure Andrew will be waiting for resumes from a lot of our boys. Andrew, can they send you something when they get their resumes ready to get them, to give them jobs? So boys, please keep in mind this important contact. Andrew's talk for all Stanishlites is that he assures Stanishlites they're going to get, if they're the right fit, they will get the job. Andrew, we really support you, and thank you so much for that, for coming on the show, and for even giving our boys and parents assurances that they're going to get the right jobs also.
Well, I'm sure that if they have the right credentials, and if I'm sure all Stanislaus are great at what they do, so they will, irrespective of whether I help them or not, they will get the right job.
Vinay, anything from you now?
No. Thanks so much. It was a great talk. I run a pharma company, and the two most important people is the finance guy and the people guy. So it is absolutely critical, and you can move into human resources from pretty much whichever field. You just have to be good in. You have to have an high EQ, and you have to be able to shape people. And as you have said so beautifully, I hope it will shape a few of the younger minds on the show.
I think Shubham has a question. Shubham, you've asked after the degree, how many more years does it take? So after your bachelor's degree, you typically, you can choose to work or not. Let's assume that you don't work, then you can straight away go for an MBA, which is 2 years. And after that MBA, you can straight away get a career. So at the least end, it could take just 2 years after your degree to get a career in HR. If of course you choose to work in the field that you chose in your bachelor's, for example, suppose you choose an engineering degree. If you choose to work in engineering, then that time is added to your time for the MBA. So at the minimum, probably 2 years, and at the maximum, it all depends on you.
Thanks, Andrew, once again.
Thank you, Andrew.
Great, thanks.
Thanks so much. And your PPT will be here on YouTube for people to refer to.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Our next speaker is Dr. Stanislaus Advani. Dr. Advani.
Hi, just give me a minute. I'm just going to go to the other room.
This is where IT is really important, you see. Without IT, this meeting would never have happened.
Agree. Just a minute.
Yes,
Hi,
we
can
would
you hear me?
like. Yes, we can. Boys, we welcome Dr. Stanislaus Advani. Now another Spanish light. Please note, these are all Spanish lights, and this list is fabulous. A small introduction about Dr. Advani, Dr. Stanislaus. Dr. Stanislaus, as I say, is a doctor, not a PhD, a medical doctor. He's a physician, trained researcher. So apart from being a doctor, he's also a scientist, a trained researcher, and works with the University of California, Los Angeles. He graduated from the 10th standard in 2002. So very much part of 2000. I'm from the old 1900s, and from Ruya College, and pursued his medicine degree from Seychelles. With an aim to work in the field of research and public health, he headed to the US to Western Kentucky University for his master's, and then to the University of Texas for his PhD. So not only do we have a medical doctor in medical terms, now we also have a PhD, a doctor. So you have a double doctor. So you have to say Dr. Stanislaus, Dr. Advani, if pardon the pun here. But Dr. Stanislaus has worked in world-renowned institutions like the MD Anderson Cancer Center and National Institutes of Health. Very, very important for the well-being of not one person, but society in general. It impacts all of us. His work has impacted a lot of people. He now works with the University of California, Los Angeles in transplant education research. Of course, he likes to travel and spend time with his family, which I think is key for anybody. Dr. Advani, over to you. Welcome.
So, hello everyone, and I'm not going to make any formal presentations because I feel an open conversation really helps. And I will give you a brief background. I graduated in 2012 from, I would say, from class 10. Anna Korea was my teacher, I guess, in 9th, and it's been a wonderful journey in the school. So this is 2021, I guess, June 13. We started a 10th standard 20 years ago at this time. And I just want to say that it's a great school. Enjoy every moment while you're there because you'll miss it. So as far as the career trajectory, I'm going to give you a brief direction of what I did. So and the system might have changed, but in general, after 10th, I I took up the science stream, and I went to Ruya College, and I was there for my 11 and 12, where unfortunately I had only one Stanislaus with me in Ruya. Majority were on the Western line. I had a passion of getting into medicine, since I would say childhood, because my both parents are physicians, and that was a natural push for me. But at the same time, I wanted to let you know that my parents didn't practice. My mom didn't practice as much as she was in the field of public health. Now, public health, you will be hearing it a lot during the COVID epidemic, where the field has really evolved and it involves preventive care, but they do a groundwork basis across a lot of fields. And so my goal was dual, is to get into preventive care and clinical medicine. And so after pursuing 11th and 12th, I took up a lot of tuitions preparing for Maharashtra CET. At that time, tried for international, for national level, AIMS level exams. I gave like 8-10 CTs at that time. And I guess this now it's more centralized with a goal to definitely get into a medical college. And at that time, unfortunately, because of my scores or ranking, I couldn't get into a college in Mumbai. And so at that time, I took up admission at a foreign medical school, University of Seychelles. So Seychelles is a tiny island in the Indian Ocean, and I took up my MBBS admission there. So just going from 10 to 12, we all know there are only 3 streams: science, commerce, and arts. And and definitely by the end of 11th, while you're in the 12th, you either want to try for MHCET, where you can, if you have the biology line, you try to take the medical line, or if you're non-biology, is the engineering line. But at the same time, after 12th, for me, it was very clear that, the opportunities were outstanding and innumerable. So, I had a goal of definitely getting into the medical school, medical college, but definitely while applying for CET, I came to know there are many other lines, like definitely dentistry is another open line. You can go for physiotherapy, Ayurveda. I have a slideshow that I had found for career guidance like last month when I was invited, and I will share that with teacher Anna, and she can share it with you guys, that the direction and the lines that my science stream has to offer is innumerable. And I had colleagues who, after, if we couldn't get into medical line, have gone through the BSc line, BSc in chemistry, zoology, botany, and have gone on to taking up their PhDs, our faculty. And so I just want you to understand that science stream doesn't only mean medical or engineering. The opportunities are innumerable. Physiotherapy is another good line after medicine, where honestly my one of my cousins just graduated from her physiotherapy school and has been doing well. And so the lines, the trajectories are innumerable. So going back to my trajectory, so I went to Seychelles, where I did my 4.5 years of MBBS, like how it's done in India. And after that, so if you are trying for a medical school and you don't get it in India, and there are people who go to foreign medical schools, after you finish your basic course, you have to return back to your country. Suppose you want to come back and practice in India, you have to clear the Medical Council of India entrance exam. And I believe it's still there. That's where once you pass that exam, you are considered as equivalent to an Indian MBBS, and then you're allowed to sit for internship, and then you get a registration number. So I didn't take that route because I was really interested in more of on the research side of career, and ended up going straight from my medical school to the US and started doing my master's program in public health. Now, public health is very broad in India. You would think it's more of like working in the BMC or on the ground, and it deals with preventive care, basic vaccinations. But I just want to say that's what the definition I took up, going there. But once I started doing my master's, the opportunities that even the field of public health had to offer were countless. So having a medical degree and then a master's, I found out that the impact this field has in research, policy making, making decisions in terms of anything that's been happening around COVID-19, if you see, for example, the modeling that they do, like the trajectories, so having a statistical training and a clinical training, you can get into health management, health policy. So that was my goal, is to go to the US and venture out into these areas. And I finished my 2 years of master's in the US in 2011. after I finished my 12th in 2004, medical school in 2009, and then I did 2 years of master's 2011. And then I wanted to pursue further a career in PhD, so I went to University of Texas. There I chose a field called as epidemiology. And I'm sure on the news or newspaper you might have read epidemiologists. So they are basically trained specifically to study how diseases spread. In short, I'm saying what preventive measures should be built, what factors in your basically in community, what you need to do to reduce the burden of diseases. So that's where I focused on, and since then I've been working in similar lines. Till then, so I considered myself to be a clinical epidemiologist, being both from MBBS and an epidemiology background, and been doing a lot of research and development, I would say. So another line where as a physician you can take is not only into research. From research you can get into an academic, like assistant professor level, where I have been heading towards. You can be a data scientist. So you don't need to be an MBBS to be a data scientist, but what I'm saying is with an MBBS, it's not only about treating patients. The trajectory that it opens up is innumerable. MBBS definitely adds up to my skills, and everybody definitely gives me some more, I would say, priority in terms of, that you have both a clinical and a research background. And so I would say it's more of a data-driven direction that I've taken right now. And after finishing up my PhD, I went to 3 years at the National Institutes of Health. I think not many of you have heard about National Institute of Health, but it's one of the premier institutions in the US for research, and that's where Anthony Fauci works. And so I got opportunity to maybe meet him once, and the areas of research that they do are, they have 26 institutes within NIH, and it's the world's biggest research organization. And they have more than 100,000 people working there, MDs, PhDs, masters, nurses, dentists, you name it, and the research that they do it there. So what basic thing I'm trying to say is that the journey is very difficult. You give up many times, but the opportunities that you get after taking in the field of medicine are endless. It's not only about treating patients. That's the primary goal that we start with. But for many people who take a different trajectory, sometimes there are a lot of options open after that too. Definitely, if there are a lot of graduates from school, from Stanislaus, including Ashish Korea, Dr. Chayana's son, who has done exceptionally well in the field of cardiology, and there is MBBS from India, then came to the US to do his medical residency. What do you do with MD, then do a fellowship. So it's a very you have to be strong-minded and dedicated once you get into any science-related field, specifically in the medical related, be it dentistry, physiotherapy, Ayurveda, naturopathy, anything. But and also there are a lot of challenges, and depending upon you can make the best out of it. There are always a lot of things you hear on the news here that the medical field, the doctors are not treated well sometimes, the pay is less, and all of these are things that you have to be prepared for depending on the direction that you take. Now, about pay scales. Pay scales can really vary depending upon where you graduate from, which university do you come out from, where you get a job. Some people in the dental field have been struggling for years, but some have really made best out of it. So, like in any other field, like all these esteemed people who have spoken to you about their direction, it's not only about the field, but also you as an individual who can make the best out of it. Now, I am currently here in Mumbai, back after in the second COVID wave, and I'm working remotely now, working from home as a data scientist. So always remember one thing, even though I have a clinical background, I'm working from home at my own luxury with my peers. Once you are at a stage in your career, after so you can definitely say since 2002, I finished in 2017. So it's been 15 years that I had constant education going on. And in between, you always have to understand that as you grow, you have your family to look after, you have to look at your career and everything. And all I can say is I don't regret getting into this field at all. In fact, I always encourage people to think about it. think through it very properly, talk to your friends, talk to your people. And the most important thing for me has been a strong support system has been in the past 3 years, 2 years, 2002, our batch made a WhatsApp group. So please get connected. I don't think so you guys have any reason not to be connected. And I didn't meet any of my friends for almost 6-7 years after I left in my direction, but just through WhatsApp, your Facebook. I know 4 people in Los Angeles where I'm planning to move down the line right now since I'm working from home, who are there to help me out when I transition there to settle down. So connecting to your peers, both past and present and future, is very critical in this juncture of your career going forward. Another 1 or 2 basic things I would say is please read about the non-traditional paths any career offers to you. All the people who spoke today have given you a much good idea of how, for example, HR is, how, for example, engineering is. You can be an entrepreneur. You can even at a medical line. Suppose even in India, like just before here, I had a call with somebody who's sitting in New York right now and planning to open a school here of public health, informatics, down here in Chennai. He's heading more than 50 people here. So it all depends upon how you make the best out of career and not what the career gives you.
Thank you, Doc. So no one has any questions on the chat, but I have one quick one for you. You know, we've had talks on technology, we've had talks on marketing, and now you are doing data science. I mean, you are a data scientist. Can you just tell them what a data scientist does in one word, and how it actually, you know, checks in with the pandemic? Because, you know, you have a lot of work to do, and you play a leading role in times like this.
Definitely. So I would say I have not made much of leading contribution to COVID-19 specifically in this 1 year, but definitely data is all there. I mean, just an example I'm going to tell you. We say that there's 95% passing rate in the school sometimes for a level, but there are factors that determine that too. It's not only at your student level, but at the teacher level, the resources that you get. And so that's what even public health is from a healthcare structure, where for example, we collect data on how many cases are there. For example, COVID-19 pandemic, perfect example from an epidemiology perspective. The cases started rising here in India in the second wave at a much sharper rate. The moment public health and epidemiologists saw these rising numbers, they tried to predict how the cases would look like if there was no shutdown, if there was no lockdown, if we have so many people gathering, if you have a mask mandate, if there was like 75% people wear masks. This is the rate at which the infection can go down. And so this is what a snapshot of how data scientists from my field in public health have worked tirelessly since past 1 year, trying to make guidelines, make recommendations of, you know, to the politicians, I would say, of, you know, this is where the country is going if these interventions are not made at this time. And so this is a very public and high level, but we have public health now. We have epidemiologists and physicians and PhD people working at a level of genetics, you know, at patient level, working on cancer patients, on treatment types, cardiac disease, you name it, both at a patient level and then also at a molecular level. So you have bench scientists doing experiments or animal experiments, trying to understand what treatment works on what animal models. That leads to, you know, next development of a drug that gets tested in the public at a small level in clinical trials, how you're seeing clinical trials for vaccines. And once they see that a particular thing is effective or not at a higher level and has a targeted, you know, like a targeted growth or targeted efficacy with limited side effects, that's when they try to approve these vaccines. So that's where epidemiologists, clinical trialists, and scientists have worked round the clock. And it's been I would say, path-breaking to see COVID-19 vaccines developing in 6 months, which actually take 5 to 10 years for a particular vaccine to develop. And so it's innumerable. I mean, if you just type in data science, you'll just find plethora. And data science, not only in the medical field, in all fields, like you said, is cross-disciplinary. But in a medical field to artificial intelligence, public health, everything is really, I mean, what we have treatments, everything else is only because science and medicine and AI, everything has blended together.
Right. Great. Thank you, Doc. I think you are a perfect example of, technology, clinical, doctor, data science, and, social science.
Not advertising.
Together.
Not advertising, yeah. Social science, yeah.
Fantastic, because it all deals with, it just cuts across, and it makes your job so critical during this time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sailesh, any special words to our students from your end as a Stanislaus?
As a Stanislaus, I'll say I'm always proud, and I keep visiting school. I am connected to all my friends. You guys are in one of the best institutes, and I heard it's international now. So like keep working hard. It doesn't matter you take science, commerce, arts, you do hotel management, you do medicine. It's all about what you like, and you give your best. I think that's you'll find success in any field then.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sailesh.
Thank you
for that lovely talk. Boys, we now go on to our next lecturer. Next presenter, I won't say lecturer, is Sumit Advani. Hi, Sumit, are you on? Hi, Sumit.
Peter.
Welcome.
I'm here. Thank you.
And
thank you for having me.
Boys, another Stanislaus, like I said. These are only Stanislaus, and it's amazing. I mean, that feeling of, born for greater things is actually showing, because all these boys have been sitting on the same benches. They've run to the same corridors. They played on the same grounds that you've done. Maybe the teachers were quite a few of the same also. We don't know. But I will talk about Sumit now. He has co-founded and built Ignite Training Institutes as one of UAE's premier training and educational consultancy services. Boys, pay very careful attention to this, to Sumit, because he is talking about studying abroad. His company helps students from international schools, maybe and Stanislaus is included, to fulfill their academic potential, build college and ready profiles, and get admitted into their dream colleges around the world. Ignite works with over 200 students every year, and a majority of them have been placed in top universities globally, like Stanford, Yale, Brown, LSE, and Imperial, to name a few. Amongst many of his achievements, he's most proud to have led the batch of 2001-2002 as head boy. So here we have a former school captain with us, and the fondest memories of his alma mater, which is your school also, Stanislaus, St. Stanislaus High School, presenting it formally. Over to you, Sumit.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for that introduction. It is an honor to be back here, and it's actually a feeling of great pride to be back, giving back a little bit to school. Your display picture actually, Peter, takes me back to school. I wish we were in the situation where we could actually be doing this in the school auditorium, and maybe I could get a samosa as well from the canteen, because that's something I've been missing dearly while I'm here. So I'm currently based in Dubai, and Ignite is set up here in Dubai. And I'm going to get into a couple of things. Let me just first share my screen. I do have a bit of a presentation that I'd like to show you, because there's a lot of information that students would need. So just allow me to share my screen. Right. I hope everybody is able to see the screen.
Yes, we can. Yeah, they're visible.
Fantastic. Right. If you will notice right at the start, my topic, of course, is study abroad, but I've tried to break that down into two important facets, I believe. So the first one is study, and this is for me a life lesson, which I would like to share with everybody at all of the Stanislaus graduating today. So what I've noticed, or what we've seen over the last few years, is that whatever you study, whatever you do, and I think Sailesh drove that point really well as well, that you need to keep learning, you need to keep studying, you need to keep improving what you do. And the reason for that is that the only thing that's constant in today's day is change, right? Let me draw you a picture. Today we're in 2021. 23 is when students will apply for universities. 27 is when most likely you'll graduate. And then you expect to have a career of about the next 30 years doing what you've learned in school. Do you think that's going to stay relevant? Do you think what you learned today in college is going to be applicable in 2050? For example, you decide to become a pilot. Do you think planes are going to be flying themselves by 2050? I think so. I don't think a pilot will be required to fly a plane. So what is required from a pilot? The ability to learn and be able to give the information to, let's say, technology to be able to fly the plane. So not that you're going to become redundant by becoming a pilot, but your ability to evolve as a pilot and be able to put that information somewhere else is got to be your main skill. And that's something which I would like most of you graduating today to focus on. Become a better learner, whatever you do, whatever you study. I mean, we have experts from various fields who've actually spoken to us today and will tell you all about it. But over the years, you need to make sure that you can continuously learn. Become a better learner, be ready for change, stay relevant 2 times. Now that we've gotten that sort of out of the way, that you are now an equipped learner and you can do well. If you are considering going abroad, let me try and throw some light on that for you. So as you probably know, there are a lot of options available, right? At this point, if you're considering studying abroad, it might seem like a mammoth task.
Hello.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, I'm just going to go on. Yeah, so it's going to seem like a big task to actually choose, which location do I go to, what is right for me, and I would actually start with just choosing a good college, right? That's going to be your first preference, because at this point there are good colleges anywhere in the world, right? Anywhere that you go, you'll see good colleges, be it in America, in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, India itself, UAE, Southeast Asia. Anywhere you go, they're going to have good colleges, and that's got to be your first target, because what you're looking for is quality education that's going to be recognized globally. The world, of course, is becoming a much smaller place. So wherever you learn your skills, it's not that it's going to be relevant only to that one place, right? We've seen in the pandemic that I think this got accelerated a lot more. Wherever you study, wherever you have information, you can still service other parts of the world. And that's got to be, again, your main driving point. So I'm going to try and give a very broad perspective as to what you need to concentrate on while you're looking to apply to good and top universities abroad, right? I will try and touch upon the small topic of getting scholarships as well, and how students can actually think about going through that process and what they should expect from that as well. But while you go, this I think will just drive the point of good colleges anywhere in the world, right? You could have one in Toronto, which is in Canada. You have Harvard, of course, in the US. You have American University of Sharjah in UAE, which is fantastic. You have NUS in Singapore, Imperial College in London. So again, these are all really good colleges. You can get into anywhere and you could have a successful career because you're going to get quality education, which is recognized globally. So don't really get hung up on the location as such at this point. I would say explore locations. Every location does have different requirements as well to get in. And we'll go through that as we go along the rest of it. So yeah, choosing the right college based on a lot of factors. Most of these factors are personal. I would say that one student going to Imperial College of London or the other student going to Harvard, both are great colleges. The choice that you make is based on what you really think works for you. There might be other factors, be it maybe post-study work visa, how many hours you're allowed to work while you're studying, do you have family there, do you like the course that you've gotten into. So when we actually help students apply to universities abroad, we try to keep it broad even at this stage, right? You are now in 2021, you're going to be applying for an intake of 2023, right? Grade 11 and grade 12, which is junior college for you in India, is going to be the defining years that will help you get into top colleges or any college, whether it's in India or abroad. So these 2 years are going to be defined in not only identifying what you're looking to do, but also building your profile accordingly. One thing that I'll bring up right away is that the concentration on academics is extremely high in certain locations like India. Even in UK, for example, what you do in school, what you do in college, what sort of grades you get is probably the most determining factor to get into colleges. But that's not the case across the world. And that is an ever-changing scenario. Because today, universities are looking for somebody to bring diversity to their university as well. What can you bring to the table apart from academics? We'll get into that as well. So while you're choosing colleges, look at personal reasons, look at location that you might want to go to, look at the pros and cons of everything, look at whether you want to actually go and settle down there, do you want to go study there and come back. Again, Sailesh did the same thing. I think his example really shows very well that he's gone to the US, he's studied there, and he's kept studying, and then he's been able to make a foothold there, right? So that's something which you need to be ready for, know what the end goal is, and then plan backwards from there. Again, don't be burdened by all of this at this point. It's just something to start thinking about, and I think the fact that you start thinking about it today will somewhere come into play in the next year or 2 years. But I mean, you need to make this decision. So today we live in a world of information, which is readily available, right? The amount of information that you have out there for all of these things, you don't need anybody, you don't need an agent, you don't need a consultant. You just need the willingness to go out there and find information. And trust me, you will find it. So go out, look for colleges that you might be interested in. You'll get enthused about getting into these colleges once you learn a little bit more about it. And I'll try and give you a little idea about what the colleges really look for. So, of course, like I said, academics is really important. That is the benchmark. That is something which is not going to change for a long time. But are they looking at anything else but academics? What are the other requirements that you need to fill apart from getting good grades in grade 11 or grade 12? And that's what we'll focus on a little bit more. So academics, again, whatever you scored in grade 10, this year is going to be important, but the most important is going to be what you score in grade 12. Most of you are going to study maybe the HSC or the boards that are available in Bombay at the moment, and that's totally fine. But one thing we need to understand when we're applying to international colleges, we apply as international students. The number of seats that we're applicable to good colleges are much lower. Remember, if there's a college which is accepting you on the basis of just your ability to pay a fee, don't go to that college, right? So go to colleges which have a competitive process to get into, which have limited number of seats and large number of applicants, right? Demand and supply. That's going to mean that you're getting into a good college, you're getting into a good program, and when you come out, you have good prospects. Concentrate on your high school grades, concentrate on getting good grades at grade 12. But now as an international student, we need to sort of differentiate our profile. We need to add more, we need to see what we can bring to the table, right? And that's when the extracurriculars come in. I would honestly say, as a Stanislaus, I think I was and our batch, and we were just gifted, right? Because this is something which I think was inculcated in us right from when we started schooling. Our principal used to be Father Laurie when we were there, and I remember his focus used to be not only on academics. He used to make sure that students are doing everything. I mean, we did drama, we did, there was so much, there's still, I'm sure, a lot of emphasis on sport. And these things actually help build your, it definitely helps build your profile, but more than that, I think it helps build your character as well, right? You need to have a well-rounded character able to do different things. And that point, like I said at the start, is driven a lot more by the fact that things are changing, right? So your ability to have other, talents or other things that you're interested in and you spend time with is really, really important. So when I say extracurricular, it could be anything. And these are things that you should try and look at, which are very personal to you, right? They might look like work to others, but should feel like play to you. That's got to be your emphasis when you choose extracurricular activities. It could be a hobby, it could be painting, it could be singing, it could be starting a volunteering service, it could be going out and doing community service. It could be anything that you are really passionate about. And this is something which I think, again, you need to find for, it might stay with you for life. So start spending time in the next couple of years, not only dug into your books, but also spending time building something else that you're passionate about. Now, do universities really require these things? Again, like I said, some locations have requirement for extracurricular activities. Let's say if we look at US and Canada, which I would say are the top locations that most students want to go to. They actually give a large amount of weightage to your extracurricular profile. Do you need to sort of submit certificates? No. What you need to do is write about it. You need to write in your essays, your college applications, what inspires you. So for example, again, I'm just going to take Salish, but just heard him. So he wants to become a doctor, right? So you want to go become a doctor, you want to go study in the US. In your personal statement, you've got to write about your inspiration. You've got to write about, this doctor shadowing experience I had, these internships I did. Why did I really want to become a doctor? And those are the things that they want to award. Again, they don't want certificates. They just want to see that you can bring something else to the table, that you're inspired to do what you're looking to do. So extracurricular activities, of course, the cliches, I would also recommend that, you keep reading, you improve your communication skills, you can join a Toastmasters. There are a lot of things that you can do. I just want to let you know that there's emphasis on this as well. And that's something that you should focus on, specifically if you're looking to apply to good colleges and if you're looking to attain a scholarship, right? If you're looking to do that, you need to have a differentiated profile. Let's say a university officer receives 100 applicants. He has only 10 seats. Out of these 100 applicants, most of them have the grades that are required, to meet the entry criteria. How are you going to differentiate your profile? This is the question you need to keep asking yourself when you apply to good universities and you apply for scholarships. And that's where the extracurricular bit actually comes in. The next one, of course, is actually filling out college applications and filling out the specific processes that they have. So standardized tests are very important. However, they are becoming lesser important. In the last couple of years, the SAT, which is the college application test for US and even Canada, has pretty much become optional. I don't recommend any of my students to drop it because it becomes an easy way for us to take an SAT, get a good score, and have something different on our profile that others might not have. So it becomes really straight up. There are also, of course, other tests that we go along, and I'll touch upon that as we go along next. Essays and statements of purpose. This is again driven by why you want to go to this college, what drives you, what are your inspirations, what have you done so far. A lot of good universities have very, very specific questions that they ask you about that university. So you need to research as well, find out a little bit more about them. And then recommendations. Let me just touch upon these one by one, and then we'll come back to the profile. So standardized tests, this I think is something which you need to understand for different locations. SAT and ACT typically are used for American and Canadian colleges. I'll give you a little bit about the SAT. So it's basically, it's more of an aptitude test in terms of your skills in math and English. Even now in grade 10, you actually have learned all of the concepts that are required to be able to take a SAT. You can go ahead and take it even this year. It happens 4 times a year. It's generally scored out of 1,600 points, and anything above 1,400 is a good score. There are tons and tons and tons of free resources available. You can log on to Khan Academy. They've created the whole course for you. You don't need to go necessarily and take classes. You just need to start preparing and start taking the test. UCAT and BMAT are actually medical entrance tests for getting into medicine, specifically in the UK. SAT subject tests have actually been pretty much completely scrapped now, but still valid at some places. The main one that I want to talk about here is advanced placements. So advanced placement by definition is a grade 12 board exam that a student from an American college would, or American schooling system would take, right? So let's say now you, for example, are going to study HSC and you want to become an engineer. Your subjects of choices obviously are going to be PCM, You're going to have physics, chemistry, math, biology. Similarly, a student who studies in the American schooling system will take AP physics, AP math, AP chemistry, AP biology. Now, you can take these exams too. They're available globally. They require, of course, additional preparation. A lot of the concepts that you learn in school will be the same that you learn there. The way the questions are asked in the paper format is very different. But why do you do APs? You do APs for the sake of standardization. So again, an admission officer who receives an application and sees students with HSC grade 92%, fantastic. But do all of his applicants have HSC? Can he actually differentiate and understand what a 92 HSC is capable of versus, an 85 CBSE versus an 80% in A levels, or a different score? No. So that's where these standardized tests really come in. They put you in the same playing field as other students. All international students take the same exam. So you should consider taking APs. It changes your profile all the way around. I don't think more than 5% of students actually take APs while they're doing schooling as well. So if you want to put yourself into that 5 to 10% bracket, taking this is really helpful. IELTS and TOEFL are basically English proficiency tests. So reading, writing, speaking, listening, that's all the tests that they're going to get sort of tested on. Now, pretty straightforward. I would say that if you're graduating from St. Stanislaus with the kind of faculty we have teaching English, this should be the breeze. This should be no issues for you at all. This is more about the essays. What you want to focus on is the fact that you want to put information there which is not on your mark sheets, right? You want to talk about what you've done apart from academics, what you can actually bring to the table, and what other things you have done that highlight your interests, right? So that's what you want to talk about. Different universities have different essays, different requirements. For example, if you're applying to UK, you have one statement of purpose, or the personal statement, which you send to all of the universities. Whereas if you're applying to good colleges in the US, they might have their own questions and maybe a common question as well. So there's a lot of information that they ask from you when you're looking at applications. And this is very, very different from the traditional application system that we're used to, or that you will see when you study in Indian colleges, right? All they ask you is for your grades, your mark sheets. What have you done in grade 10, grade 12? Did you score well in the NEET or the JEE? Those are your requirements. Today, that is changing if you're looking at going to universities abroad. So you actually have the opportunity. This is the best time. The next 2 years will define what you're going to do. And it's a good time to start thinking about other things that you might want to add to your profile. Again, I'm going to be very broad and give you all of the basic requirements. I can't necessarily get into one particular field, but of course, I'm happy to get into that individually with students if required. Recommendation letters, yeah.
Sumit,
yes,
we actually got stopping you in between, just interrupting. We got a question from Romit. He wants to know which university you went to actually influence you to get into a field like this. After Stanislaus, what did you do? Because you're going high tech already. So what did you do after that?
I think therein came my lesson, Peter, for learning change. So I studied BSc in IT. The only thing I do on IT today is use Zoom that I'm using right now. I didn't actually go ahead and pursue anything, but what I did realize is that my ability to learn, adapt, and put myself in situations really helped. So yeah, I studied BSc in IT from National College.
But where was this, in Mumbai? Did you do this in Mumbai?
Yes, very much.
So university was also Mumbai University, or?
Yeah, it was National College on Linking Road.
Now that feels good, because now we identify that the person who's even been to National College can do some big things. So
of course,
it's important for them to get this feeling of comfort,
That was ingrained in us under Born for Greater Things, right? I mean, that's something I'll carry with a tag for me forever, that I'm not restricted by my education. I'm not restricted by what I know today. I'm born for greater things, and I'm going to try and achieve that. And I think that is what most students need to understand as well, that since the topic is education, and that's what I want to focus on, that what you learn today and where you learn it is important, but becoming a better learner is the most important thing. Finding things that you really want to do day in and day out, get up every day and do. Again, I'm going to repeat, what feels like work to you, or sorry, play to you and looks like work to others is what you want to really focus on. Today, for example, I can't imagine myself becoming or doing what Sailesh does, but he's driven by it. He's put in so much effort. He gets up every day and is driven to do that. That's something which is personal. That can't come from a university. That can't come from your location. I think it's come from school. If I had to put a finger to it, I would say that's come from school, and that's this ability that they've sort of driven in us, that we can do whatever we want, and that has stayed with me. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thanks. No, please go on with your present, because there were 3 or 4 times we had this. Where is Sumit from? I said, okay, fine, we'll give you that. And I think it's a big comfort level to all of us to know that National College, you could go right up there even with National College.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Bandra boy, Peter. I've born and brought up in Bandra. Things have just changed over the last few years, but the fundamentals don't. Yeah. So anyways, we were
coming back to your presentation. Yes.
Yeah. We were the last bit in college applications. The first one I'm just going to repeat. Standardized tests, which is specific to the universities and locations that you go to. The second one is filling out your applications and writing essays where you talk about what inspires you, why you want to go to these places, what you've done apart from from academics. You put that stuff down. And the last one is recommendation letters. You have a lot of teachers at hand in Stanislaus as well. Go fetch them, get back to them, ask them to write glowing recommendation letters for you. And of course, in grade 11 and 12, find some other teachers and tutors and mentors who can write something about you to sort of verify everything that you've done. Again, very specific to universities, very specific to locations. I'm very happy actually to maybe interact with students who are genuinely interested, and I'm glad to offer my services to them just for consultation and give them maybe a roadmap that will help them understand from now till applications what are the activities that they should consider, even what subjects they should choose particularly. So, for example, if you're planning to study, again, I'm just going to take Sailesh's example. If you're planning to study medicine, of course, biology, chemistry become the most important subjects that you have to study. You pick your subjects accordingly. You pick, like we talked about, advanced placements. You pick those relevant subjects so you can show that you're good in those, and that's how you get into universities of choice. If you want to study engineering, you do math, physics, chemistry. You want to study business, finance, you do economics, math, business, stuff like that. So yeah, this is recommendation letters. This is a quick look at the timeline, which is specific to students who are now graduating. Your intake for any university is going to be in August of 2023. The way the academic year works is slightly different. We start differently in school in India. We start with the onset of the monsoons in June. They actually start just after in August and September. So in 2023, students are going to go to university if they plan to go to a university abroad, which means it gives us about 2 years to start working backwards from there and filling out the applications. Most applications go about 9 to 12 months before the start date of college, right? So you already need to have all of these things ready, whether it's your standardized tests, your high school grades, your extracurricular activities, everything that you've done all needs to sort of be ready by, let's say, August, or let's say September, October of 2022. Doesn't give us much time. The deadlines from October 15th to Jan 1st, that's a global, I would say, window where you can apply to all of the universities. Most of the results come in March, and you confirm by May if you're going to be taking up the seats.
There's a question.
Sure, happy
Sumit,
to
now the first thing I suppose for this is money, finance, capital.
Right.
Are you saying that this course is only available, what you're talking about is only available to students who have got financial capital? What happens to a deserving student who would like to do this course, who has got see, his parents may not have access to finance? How would your company help them to take this forward?
So basically, Peter, what we focus on for students like these is to try and get them scholarships, right? The scholarship can range from maybe just 10-20% of your tuition fee to 100% of tuition fee, including living expenses as well. In fact, we had a student this year who got into 3 universities in the US, all amongst the top 50 colleges with more than 100% scholarships. Now, I'm not going to paint a picture which says that, that is necessarily true for all students. We have to be realistic here. It's highly competitive. You can apply for scholarships. You can apply, but you need to have a very good profile. You need to be able to be deserving of that scholarship. So you need to write a separate essay about how you can and why you require the scholarship, what you bring to the table, what you've done apart from
Would Ignite help them? Would Ignite help them in this case if they had to? If a Stanislaus had to write to Ignite and say, "This is what I capable of doing, but I don't know how to go about it." Would Ignite help them?
I'll be glad to help anybody from this batch. At least give them the roadmap, activities that they need to do, brainstorm with them about the ideas and locations that they can go to. I'm happy to interact with them. Again, I did not want to go specifically into particular location and particular requirement because I don't know what students want to do right now, and the whole world is available to them. So I just want to give them a broad understanding of what they need to really think about over the next 2 years. Not only academics, extracurriculars, standardized tests. These are things that they need to do. As they excel and they do well in these, we can apply for scholarships, and then we hope that we get them through. Another thing is that a lot of locations allow students to work part-time, right? And I have a lot of students who today are ready to go to university. They might just require the initial amount to be paid, first term tuition fee. From then on, they're taking it themselves. They work 20 hours a week, which is officially allowed. Some of them work another 20 hours a week. I remember when my brother went to Australia as well. He worked as a waiter. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to work, you got to make your money, and you can get your education. I know a lot of students who've gone a few years back and have just gone with the first, out of 4 years, they've gone with just the first 6 months fee paid. That's it. And then you got to take it on yourself. There are a lot of opportunities to work. You can build other projects. You can become a personal tutor for somebody. Today, with the advent of online income, I would say there's so many opportunities for students to make money anywhere in the world, right? So I don't think that should, and I understand it's a mentally sort of limiting factor, right? That, I don't have the funds to do this right now. The way to think about it is, how do I get these funds? How do I manage to make these expenses or make them meet? What are my avenues? And explore them. If they work, great. At least you've tried. Even if you don't get through, trust me, that process will make you a better student, make you a better learner, and make you sort of better to get in. I'm again happy to answer some more questions. I'm very close to the end actually, and once we're done, if there are any other questions, I'll happy to take them even one by one. Again, coming back to this, because this is what I really want students to focus on. Keep these 3 things in mind when you're applying to universities abroad, that you not only need academics, you need extracurriculars, and you need to build a very, very strong college application, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. The roadmap is basically individual, right? It's different for different students. It's different depending on what you want to study, where you want to study, what your economic background might be, what your future plans are. Do you have to go to a location? So this is something I'm very happy to engage with students, one by one. If they have some questions now, I'm happy to take them as well to understand, where we can sort of help with. And going forward for the next 2 years, I'm going to leave my, this is actually something which I wanted to drive as well. So this is something that I learned again from Father Lawrie when we were in school. This stayed with me actually over the last few years. It's become a lot more relevant now. If it is to be, it is up to me. And this is what I was trying to drive. I think, Peter, the point which you made as well, the students feel like, we don't have the funds, we don't have this, we don't have, we're limited. But if you really want to go out there and do these things, the information and resources are readily available. You have to get out there and ask. Today, you have this platform, you have us, you have all of the external slides, you have forums, you have free information available. You can learn by yourself. You can study courses by yourself. You can take SAT by yourself. It really has to be.
What is your message?
Right.
Sumit, with your message to parents who are also listening in on this course?
Um, for parents, I would say, explore. I would say that, it's, I understand that parents want to give the best of everything that they know to their children. Unfortunately, times are changing so quickly that if you don't know exactly what is happening today, tomorrow it could be completely different. Which means that we can help, or parents can help students only to as much as they know, right? The rest of the exploration has to be done by the parent, by the student, with the support of the parent. They have to encourage the fact that students want to explore different things. Don't feel restricted by the fact that, I understand maybe economics is a big factor, but don't be restricted by it. Give it what it deserves in terms of the opportunity that they might have. Might be a tough path, but if you tread that tough part and even go 10%, you've gone further than you plan to go anyways, right? So I would say explore them, let them not limit students, let them get out there, get information, and empower students to do it by themselves and children to do it by themselves.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you once again. Sumit, it's been lovely interacting with you. I'm sure there'll be people getting back to you through SESA, of course.
Of
Your
course.
expertise, your time, much appreciated. And again, we are proud that you're a Stanislaus, and these boys should take heed that you're a Bandra boy, very much right up there.
Of
Thank you,
course.
Sumit.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, yeah. And now we go on to somebody who's actually not put on a false background like we have got, but he's actually right there in the heart of it all. So the background you see is very much part of the background that he has to work with. And I welcome Chef Rohit D'Souza. Chef Rohit is a demi chef de partie at Trident Hotels in Mumbai. And Rohit did his catering and is a proud Spanish. Like Rohit, you have to tell us which year you passed out in,
Okay.
who was your principal, and at the end of all this, what are the good dishes you're waiting for us for lunch, which Vinay, I think, is hoping to get a part of here because he said in case Rohit cannot, he's got something very delicious. And it's not so nice that I'm talking about it because I'm already thinking of what you're going to cook and I know the hard hours that go into your work. So over to you, Rohit. Welcome and please talk about your year at Stanislaus also. Another Stanislaus boys, please take heed. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Peter. Hi, Vinay. How are you? All fine.
Good.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chef Rohit. I passed out from Stanislaus in the year 2010, basically. Those days we had Father Laurie and Father Jude had just come in as the principal. That was my last year and Father Jude's first year as a principal with us in Stanislaus. Then post that, I had already focused that I wanted to become a chef and I wanted to pursue it as a career also. So I finished my college from Andrews College basically. And in terms to pursue your hotel management is not necessarily that you have to opt for science is like, you can take commerce or arts, either up to you. It depends, but science is basically the last option if you want to enter into hotel management as a career. So post that, after my 12th from Andrews, I jumped onto Rizvi College for catering. You have plenty of colleges in Mumbai. You have IHM Mumbai, you have Rizvi, Andrews is there, Kohinoor is there. The choice is all yours. And a small tip, taking IT is not necessary. You can also opt in for basically, you can go in for French because French is like a additional language for you, which comes in use in the hotel industry because we cater to guests to do foreign clientele. So you can converse with them. It becomes really handy. So the hotel industry, basically the 3 years of us is broken down into 3 parts. So first I will explain to you step by step. So the first year is complete academics. Therefore you focus on studies. Second year, which we break it down into 2 halves. either you have the first half or the second half, that is your monsoon batch or your winter batch, which we have a cross training, where we are sent to a 5-star hotel to get trained and experienced and to see the industry in personal terms. Then your second half is divided into quantity cooking, where we are trained to cook food in bulk and gives you a gist of how the hotel industry works in terms of bulk cooking. And third goes where you basically, it's your final year. Full first half of your third year goes into interviews, where every this college of yours gives you opportunities to go and give interviews with various 5-star hotels, shipping companies, that is your cruise liners, airlines which require chef on board, or in terms of pursers. They give you chances where you can go forth, prove yourself, get a job, and then post your final examination, you start your duty with the property which has been selected you. So the hotel industry, basically, you have to keep in mind, there is your fun life goes into a standstill. Our duty hours are extremely heavy. Minimum we work 12 hours a day, can go to 14 hours, 15 hours, depends on the business which we have in the hotel. It all depends on.
Rohit, I'm interrupting you for a moment here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Rohit, you have to repeat what you said just now. Please, this is a message that goes out to all our students. Yes. It is so important part of your business. Okay.
So you have to
tell them the hours that yes.
So the working hours are really long, and it's like, basically like days like you have Ganpati, Diwali, Christmas, Easter, New Year, then you have 15th August, 26 Jan, all your family, friends, all will be at home, enjoying, having a fun time. But here in these times, people are off. You have business. We as a hotelier have to be on duty. There is no off given, comes or whatever. It is like really busy days for us and in those times. So all of us like have to be on business. So like we are all of us are at work. We don't have an off on those days. And like the hotel industry is like, you have to be a person who likes to talk to people, who's more of an outgoing person, who's friendly, can make friends fast. Because a person like an introvert, the hotel industry is not meant for him. To be facts, to be honest, for such people, this industry is not meant for you. And you have to be rough and tough. Because like in terms of work, there are people like, if you're a slow worker, people insult you. You have to take it in a positive way and you have to learn. You can't be like a person who drops down and says no. Like you have to be strong basically. This industry is like for people like, who are strong-headed. That is the basic thing. As in terms of a chef, you have to keep to, if you like, you want to be a chef, like you will decide in the future, you have to keep two things in mind. One is you have to accept failure in a positive way, and the learning process of us never stops. Our learning process continues till the very end, until we are like, until we plan of remaining on duty, on our feet, feeding people. Learning process always continues. It never stops. That is the main thing. Hotel industry as a whole, once you finish your graduation, the doors are not small. It's a wide opening for you. Like in case a person says, I don't want to enter in the hotel industry, he can take up HR. He can enter into the airline services. Like you have GVK at the airport. You can enter there. You can go into, you can say, shipping companies are there also. On the cruise liner or something. So your doors are very open. Why? In terms of one thing is that in the hotel industry, in the college, we are trained in terms of grooming, in terms of communication skills. So we are like a whole package. We can talk to people, we can deal with guest situations. So our field, the doors open more wider. So we have a very good chance ahead in life as a hotelier. And one thing, the hotel industry never goes dead because everyone wants to eat food, everyone wants to enjoy life, all want to come out on a vacation. So the hotel industry never dies. It's always lively and the doors are open for you. In terms of that, every hotel, once you finish your 3 years, every hotel has a management program. So it's a choice for you. Either you enter as a normal associate, or if you crack the management interviews, you can enter in the management program. That is basically a 2 years program where every hotel trains you, brushes you up, polishes you, and makes you into a fine manager. Where in, like, you skip the hurdles of your growing up in the hierarchy and you jump straight onto a higher level. Or you can do a post graduation in terms of which field you want, either F&B service, either front office, or either human resources, sales and marketing, culinary. And then once your post graduation is done, then you can apply in a property which gives you a straight management post. So you have two options. Either you enter through this hotel management, or you do it privately. Either one, or you can struggle up the ladder step by step. Depends all to you. Remaining, hotel industry is a very good place. You have a lot of people around you. It is not, people say it is like, lot of work, but yeah, with work you have friends along, so it goes well. Your work hours go very nicely, like, you enjoy, there's work, there's fun, there's people around you, so you don't feel that loneliness or that, that boredom which is called, you feel bored sometimes, but no, you will, like, it motivates you, like, I want to get up in the morning and go to work so I can meet my friends, work also, and have a good time.
Rohit, can you hear me?
Yes, Peter.
Rohit, what exactly, I mean, before you go on, what
Yes.
prompted you to actually take up this profession? Because we hear so much of chefs, good chefs being in demand wherever you are, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's a very tough job. What prompted you as a student, I mean, after Stanislaus, or was it during Stanislaus or after that you decided to take up this profession?
So I decided this profession post my 12th standard. So basically, my family, we had a small catering business where we used to, like, only do house parties, cook small portions of food and sell it. So that, like, seeing my grandmother cook, seeing my mummy cook, both have a very good hand in the kitchen. Looking at them, I was motivated. And right from that time onwards, I was like, I wanted to be a chef. And yeah, I pursued what I wanted in life. And yeah, my life is not ended now. There's a long way more. It's just the start of my career. I have a very long way to go. But yeah, this to everyone out there, please join the industry only if you are really interested. Because when we were in college, there was a craze where people used to assume that hotel management is the easiest degree to pursue. Why? You finish, you are graduated. In terms of BCom, the studies are less. You're in terms of your education, like, it's much easy. But no, hotel management is not easy at all. It is difficult. Your studies also, you have subjects in times which like, you have to be really focused. If you are interested, you can study. Otherwise, it is difficult. So please don't be in that hotel management is easy. It is not easy. And people think, like, hotel management will be like, like you have your cooking, like a workshop in school. It is not that way. The cooking standards in the college are more onto a professional stage. So there you have to be interested, because there are times where you'll be given work which is boring for a person, for a normal person. But as a chef, if you're interested, yeah, it will be fun for you. and you will make it fun. Yes, Peter.
Because yeah, a lot of them also, before we can wind up with you, I mean, it's been very interesting. I'm sure there are going to be questions coming back to you,
Yes,
Rohit.
yes, please.
I hope you don't mind if they come via SSESA to you.
Okay.
You know, people can ask you questions because they may not want to ask it on this forum because they will
Not a
think
problem.
about various things.
Not a
Finally, in terms of salaries, you know, when people
Yes,
do this,
yes.
how rewarding is a profession like this
So in terms of
salaries?
yeah, so in terms of salaries, once you enter in the management level, yeah, your salaries are on a slight hike. But once, if you're growing up the ladder right from a commie to a DCDP to a CDP, your salaries take time to increase. So your starting basic gross salary will be starting 16,000 in hand for a commie. As you start growing up the
Commie,
ladder,
explain commie, sorry.
commie is basically the first level of a kitchen chef. So
Okay.
as a kitchen hierarchy, you have a commie, you have a DCDP, that is a demi chef de partie, you have a CDP, which is chef de partie, and then you go into your junior sous chef, kitchen executive, and so on and so forth. This is how the hierarchy works. So basic is you start, when you start on a normal level base, your salary is low. But yeah, one thing is, I advise all of you all, if you all want to be a good chef, start your career in a Indian property, because Indian properties, you are really, you know, they kasra you, like they will make you work. But once you go
Absolutely.
abroad somewhere, it will be a piece of cake for you. It'll be like, array, when I used to be there, I used to work 14 hours, but here this is easy for me. It is basically what we make you work a lot here, but yeah, you gain things. And once you go abroad, things become really easy for you. And abroad, we fall in, as a chef, you fall under skill labor. So it is one plus point for you. Well, in India, we don't, that skill labor category as such is not, you know,
Doesn't
maintained.
exist.
Is there. Yeah, but no one gives you that, what is it, it's called, that respect or whatever, you know, you require.
Recognition.
Yes. But abroad, yeah, you are recognized for what you do. May it be you make a small fish fry or you make into a gourmet dish. You are really judged and you are appreciated for that small thing as well as that big thing. That way it is.
Okay, thank you once again, Rohit. It's
Most
been really
welcome,
enlightening.
most welcome.
And we're thinking of the kitchen behind you and, you know, all the lovely delicacies you're going to churn out. Pity we're going to be missing them, this lovely rain, and, you know, thinking of food is not a good combination, but we wish you all the best and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Once
Thank
again,
you.
we are proud to have some super chefs with us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. See you all. Have a nice day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit.
Thank you, Vinay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Students and parents, we now have one of the most interesting careers, like I said, and which is very dear. I mean, after 30 years of working and association with the armed forces, we have with us Colonel Azad Sheikh, who is a Stanislaus boy. Very proud to have him with us, and he is going to share his insights from the year he passed out. You know, the men in uniform, ultimately, I've seen so many jobs in my 30 years of work experience. And at the end of 30 years, you have a career, which is the armed forces, which is nothing like anything else. Of course, they always say grass is greener on the other side, but I hand you over now to Colonel Azad Sheikh, who will take you forward. I'll just say a few words about him. He is a serving officer in the Indian Army, and he is posted in Delhi, the North Block. So I will ask, which I am saying right now, he has recently cleared his boards and he will become a brigadier shortly. For those of you who have seen the armed forces chart put up in school, you will get an idea that he's already will be entering the junior ranks of a general. But to explain all that, I will leave you with Colonel Azad Sheikh to take you forward. Welcome, Colonel Azad Sheikh, and happy to have you on board as a proud Stanislaus boy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on this show. It's indeed a privilege for me to address the Stanislaites. To begin with, I want to tell everybody that Stanislaus has been the base from which one begins his entire mindset, developing his entire thought process, and my school has played a very important role in that. Believe me, now having interacted with students from all over the country, I do realize how important a role Stanislaus had played in my life, and I'm sure it must be playing in the lives of so many students across over there who are studying right now. And I just want to wish all of you the very best. I will be delivering this talk in the form of a presentation partly, and the balance I will explain a few things for the understanding of the students. Okay, to begin with, firstly, we must understand what are the strengths of the Indian Army, which is one of the most noble professions. Firstly is the discipline and the respect for law. Next,
Colonel, sorry, I must interrupt. Colonel, sorry. You have to tell us about yourself a little bit.
Okay, fine. You want me to do that?
No, it's
okay.
very important.
Okay,
very important. I was waiting for that. Actually, I was going to do it, but you will do it better.
Okay, no, fine. I'll do that, Peter. No issues. Okay, guys, I am from the 88 batch. Okay, I passed out very much as a very normal, mediocre student. Okay, nothing exceptional. After that, I joined Sydenham College of Commerce. I did my graduation over there. I had attempted to go into the National Defense Academy, but I did not clear the Services Selection Board at that point of time. Nevertheless, I did not give up. I attempted once again when I was doing my graduation directly through the Combined Defense Services exam for the Indian Military Academy. And I qualified in those exams. I incidentally passed out 7th in the order of merit in the Combined Defense Services exam. So that gave me a slight heads up. After that, I joined the Indian Military Academy in 1993 June and passed out in December 1994. Ever since, it's been a lovely journey in this organization. And like you would have heard all other speakers, every profession has its own sets of challenges, and it is a big learning curve. So one enjoys whatever one does throughout his professional life. And I have had a great time in the Army so far. Plus and minuses exist in every profession, and one must learn to take that in stride. With that as a background, I'll start with the presentation. Okay, firstly, the strengths of the Indian Army, as I already told you. The Indian Army is the last weapon of resort of the Constitution of this country. Okay, it is one of the main protectors of this Constitution of this country, and therefore discipline and respect for the law is the most important aspect over here. Service before self. Needless to say, you are in the Army, so everything is placed before your own self. Value systems, the Indian Army has got very solid value systems. They are exceptionally evolved over the years, and people follow them in letter and spirit right to the last T. As far as humanitarian approach is concerned, we have a very excellent track record as far as HR is concerned, in spite of whatever you keep hearing in media from time to time. And next is the military ethos and regimental traditions. I would just like to tell you that the Indian Army is a big family. It's a big family. People are there to hold on to your hands at all times. And today, when we see COVID times and hear about a lot of people sitting in isolation, having so many problems, one feels very, very happy that we belong to an organization which is there with us 365 days, irrespective whether I am there or not. My family gets taken care of. I'll cover my lecture in the following heads. First of all, soldiering, an officer who is always supposed to be a gentleman, life in the Army, the emoluments, and the entry schemes. So what is soldiering all about? Soldiering is about defending your nation from external and internal threats. When you talk about external threats, we have got an adequate number of them. When you talk about internal threats, of late we have been facing quite a few, and we are handling them well. Aid to civil authorities is something which comes into play whenever we are called upon by the civil administration to help in situations such as floods, etc. And we do our role out there. Worldwide peacekeeping, Indian Army is one of the most respected peacekeeping forces in the world. We have a large number of contribution to the UN peacekeeping forces, and we are sought after by virtue of our professionalism. Social and environmental causes are a large number of issues which the Indian Army addresses. In fact, we have got special units, which are called ecological TA battalions, which work on the environment improvement. And of course, our life is dedicated to the nation. So what's it all about an officer? An officer in the Indian Army, like I told you, is a gentleman. He is tasked to train and lead his men into battle. That is the end line. A leader, commander, friend, and philosopher to his men under his command. As far as army is concerned, it follows a clear-cut hierarchical structure where anything and everything revolves around your command, the men who serve under you, how you lead them into battle, how you take them, how you train them, how you finally ensure that their welfare is taken care of at all points of time. Just like I am today a colonel, there are a lot of people above me, who are there to take care of me whenever I am out in any operational area and my family is behind. Come what may, they are there for me. So is the case with me when I am leading my men somewhere in an operational area. We lead from the front. In an operational area, Indian Army, the casualty records, everything will tell you. We are an army, incidentally, which has its leader in the front of the battle. Unlike many other armies which have been spoken of in many records, saying that their leaders were behind. That doesn't happen in Indian Army. As far as we are concerned, we are managers, human resources, everything all bundled into one. Okay? And of course, we have a lot of compassion and determination, but it is an iron fist in a velvet glove. One has to do his job. When it doesn't happen the right way, there are other ways and means to get it done. So our life is all about action, professional growth, adventure, travel all over the world, lifestyle, our family lives, our status, and I'll just tell you some of the achievers. So what is our life? It's full of action, either in operational duties or in peacetime duties. So the Indian Army has seen large number of operations, the last being major one being Kargil. But of course, we encounter one every day in J&K or the Northeast. And we are very well trained to handle all those issues. As far as peacetime is concerned, we are there in every relief work or relief operation which is involved in case of any natural calamity. And we do understand the implications of that, especially on the lives of the people we are saving with. And since I have been involved in some of these relief operations, I can tell you the type of gratitude which people show us. It's been almost 15 years. I was last involved in a relief operation. I yet get calls from those people. So it's very heartening. As far as professional growth is concerned, okay, so this is the only organization probably which pays you to study. Okay, so it tells you keep on acquiring qualifications which you want to, and we keep on having. We have n number of professional courses, technical courses, management courses, foreign language courses. People go abroad for studies. You can take study leave for 2 years, which is a paid leave, and do a course which you want to do. Okay, so that is something which the organization offers you. I don't know of any other such organization which offers this, but surely Indian Army gives a complete opportunity to its soldiers to enhance their professional and technical skills. As far as adventure in the army is concerned, there are a plethora of them. There are just few of them which are shown on the slide. I have done many of these. It's been a great experience. And again, like I was telling you, you are doing it very much on duty and you're getting paid for these activities. Of course, when I say you get paid for these activities, it doesn't mean 365 days you're doing this. You off and on, you can volunteer for all such activities and you get a chance to do it. Believe me, this whitewater rafting and scuba diving is an excellent thing. You guys must try it. As far as travel is concerned, we've got large number of foreign missions. In fact, embassies all over the world have got defense personnel as attaches. So a large number of army officers, navy officers, and air force officers are serving abroad, okay, apart from the normal peace missions. As far as our lifestyle is concerned, okay, we've got an excellent lifestyle. We have got all sports facilities in-house. We do not depend on anybody for any of these sports facilities. As far as social issues are concerned, we've got you name it, we've got those facilities on the social front. Even the medical aspects, the school education institutions, they are far one of the best institutions which one can think of. Of course, we've got the air travel facilities, the canteen facilities. Those are the pluses. Like I told you, the army takes very good care of you. So we've got very good cantonments in all the places. I am staying in one of them in Delhi. Okay, the quarters are provided by the government. They are very well taken care of. And there is adequate avenues for development of the skill development of the families and the children, which is provided by the organization. As far as our status is concerned, we are class 1 gazetted officers the day we get commissioned. Okay, of course, we enjoy a high social and governmental status in the country. One does have a very good paid package. I may be able to show you that. Okay, and our equivalence is very good, at par almost with all the IAS officers in the country. In fact, at my level, one keeps interacting with large number of senior civil servants in the country. And it is a good thing which the interaction gives us a good perspective of what is happening on the civil front in the country. These are a few of the achievers. Colonel Rathod was incidentally one of my seniors. There are others, General Sam Bahadur Manik Shah, and many of them who have done exceptionally well within the organization and subsequently outside the organization. General Manik Shah, incidentally, after retirement, he became a field marshal, and after that, also he was involved in so many commercial organizations as president or head of the board of directors. Like I told you, our children get a lot of avenues. So there are many of the children who have done well. Priyanka Chopra happens to be one of them, and so there are many of them. Okay, so what about our facilities and allowances? We have got entitled rations. Okay, we got medical treatment, we got canteen facilities, we get 60 days annual leave and 20 days casual leave in a year. But one does not get the time to avail this leave, to be very frank. So it looks good out here that guys get 80 days leave. But Indian Army incidentally has got a shortage of officers. So one is bundling up with multiple tasks, and barely does he get to avail even 20 days leave aside 60 days. As far as furlough is concerned, that's a far-fetched process, though it is there in the entitlement. When you can't avail your basic leave, others are far-fetched. Of course, you can encash your leave up to 300 days, and that's a sizable amount which you get at the time of retirement. And study leave, like I told you, you can go on study leave for 2 years, study the subject of your choice with full pay and allowances. You're traveling once a year to your hometown, and all is free. The other privilege is, of course, there you have got furniture, electricity, all those issues to a great extent are subsidized. Your life insurance cover is taken care of by the government. There are a large number of loans, etc., which you get. So how do you get in out here? Firstly, the entry points are, after 10+2, we have the NDA and the technical entry scheme. Thereafter, we have after graduation, you have got the direct entry scheme, that is through the Combined Defense Services, which I got through in. You have the Short Service Commission, which is through the OTA. Then you have the NCCC certificate holders who are required to only appear for the SSVs. You have the university entry schemes, the technical entry schemes, postgraduate schemes. There are a large number of them. These are the law officers, etc. They come through these postgraduate schemes. Of course, the medical entries are there into the Armed Forces Medical College, and there are direct interviews also after MBBS.
1 minute, Colonel Sheikh, before you now this is, you're giving us You are not even giving us half the excitement you must have had when you started.
Okay, I'll cover the excitement after I go through this.
Yes, please. So don't keep that on the anvil, because the boys, I'm sure, are waiting to hear that part of your work, your life, your line after Stanislaus. In Stanislaus, what prompted you to go to this? So please, I know you're getting very theoretical, but we would need you to take us to that emotional part of yours, which highlights you as an officer.
Okay, you want me to do that? Okay, fine. This, I'm sure, I'm sure it should be there in your board, put inside your NCC rooms. Okay. And okay, so now I will just come finally to how life began for me. Firstly, let me tell you, in school, I was a very, very mediocre student. In fact, I was a failure when I was in 5th, 6th standard. I used to fail in subjects. So that should give you a fair enough idea as to how I was doing in school. But nevertheless, in life, everybody gets a ticking point. So did I. Okay, so somewhere around in the 9th standard, I decided, okay, I need to study. So that's when I started studying. Incidentally, the only prize which I got in school was when I passed out in 10th. I think that time it used to be called honoris causa for distinction or something. That's the only prize which I received from the school. That too after I passed out, because I passed out with some 83%, which is the highest I have ever achieved in school. After that, I went to Stanislaus. Sydenham College. In Sydenham, I had thought of appearing for NDA. I did appear once. I did not get through the SSB, though I cleared the written very well. That was something.
I'll stop you here. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Colonel Sheikh, I'm stopping you. What prompted you to join, to appear for NDA? Please tell us that now. That is something very critical.
What prompted me? Let me be very frank with you. I had a large number of career avenues open. One was civil services, which I was studying for right from, say, probably 11th. Okay, so I wanted to look at the civil services. I was doing pretty well on that front. We had NCC in our college. So one fine day, I met a pilot officer who told me, he had given some written exam. So he told me, why don't you appear for NDA? So I appeared for NDA. I got through. So there was nothing specific where I was very motivated to join the army at any point of time. I appeared.
But your parents were not involved.
No. My parents did not push me in any on any career front. But again, my parents had left that decision to me clearly, and I think it's always best that way for the child. So that's what I do with my son also. So I did appear. I did not clear NDA. Of course, now a failure gives you a push. Okay, so that failure did push me to say that, oh, I couldn't clear this, so let me give it a try. And that's when I appeared for the CDS and I got through. Okay, now when I appeared for the CDS, the point came, what does one study? These are many questions people keep asking me when I go for lectures in college. Firstly, you have to study whatever is the basics. Like you start from 10th, your history, geography, all those, you call it 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever. That period, your history, geography should be well brushed up. Thereafter, one should be reading one general knowledge magazine. You can call it Competition Success Review, Civil Services Chronicle. Catch hold of one magazine, read it. Make it a point to read one newspaper daily, back to back. It's not very interesting many a times, but do try and inculcate it as a habit. Once you inculcate this as a habit, it is something which works on very well with the passage of time. Initially, it may not be so interesting. Thereafter, once you start appearing for competitive exams, firstly, my recommendation would be you must keep filling forms for competitive exams when you reach that age. It gives you a very clear understanding. I may be doing very good in my school. I may be doing very good in my college. That's a small ecosystem in which you're working in, okay, or you're living in. The moment your horizon increases, you come into the open competition, pan-India level, you realize it's a complete different ball game. A national level exam is completely different. So when you're competing over there, you realize how people from all parts of the country are there, and what is their perspective. So once I started, appearing in other competitive exams, I remember appearing for ITBP and so many of them. I had a fair enough understanding of what competitive exams is all about. So by the time when I was giving my combined defense services exam, that was before I graduated. I was very, very clear that I was going to get an interview call. And when I went for the interview call, I was very, very confident that I would get selected. The only call which had to be made at that point of time was whether I was going to join or not. Incidentally, I got my selection letter for the Indian Military Academy much before I got my graduation results. So that was a call which I had to take. Since my parents were more inclined, that I should be joining the civil services, my dad did tell me, okay, have a look at civil services before you take the call. But I had met my friends during the services selection board, and it made an impact on me. I said, okay, no, I will go. Incidentally, I must tell you, one of my batchmates in Stanislaus, he is Manish Chawla. Manish Chawla was the topper in our school in the 88 batch. I wouldn't be able to tell you which percentage he passed out, how much he got, but he was one of the toppers. Manish Chawla moved on to Delhi in somewhere in the month of after 10. He got into NDA and he left NDA. Okay, so he joined NDA, he left NDA. That is when after that I went to CDS. Incidentally, Manish was not very, very happy out there, so he decided to leave after paying us some money. And today Manish heads the IBM vertical I think so on the health vertical of IBM. So it is not that everybody is fit for the army or everybody is unfit for the army. It's not like that. It is just that one picks up a profession, how comfortable he is and how much he grows in it. There are many people who come in our profession who leave after some time, who leave after 15 years, after 20 years. Incidentally, after 20 years, our service becomes pensionable. So if you leave prior to 20 years, you do not get any pension. Nevertheless, one is always happy. As far as once I got commissioned, my first posting was in the Northeast. I was on the China border. I spent 2 years out there. It was a wonderful experience, sitting on the border out there. And one would really wonder, ki main kahan aa gaya hu ye suddenly. But then, like I told you, army is a family. The men who were under my command out there never ever made me feel that I was alone or sidelined or something. I was there, part of a big family out there. I conducted so many meetings and operations out there successfully, and I had a good time. I incidentally won my first commendation card out there as a second lieutenant, which used to be a big thing at that point of time. After that, I have had a lovely journey to many places. I was selected to become a full colonel somewhere in 2012. After that, I went on to command 2 units, which was a very prestigious thing for any army officer. And after that, I was handpicked to come to Delhi Army Headquarters, where I spent almost 4 years now, during which tenure I was awarded by the Vishesh Seva Medal by the President of India. So the journey is very good, excellent. It is for the students who are listening to me to pick and choose which career they want. And all careers have their plus and minuses. You have to make the call. It is nobody else who can make the call for you. You people decide what best is for you. Today, with so much of advent of so much of information, it is very easy for you to probably get information about all careers. But the choice finally has to be taken very, very selectively. So that's all from my side. Any questions, I can take them on.
Vinay?
No questions as yet, but a lot of kids will watch this and send in stuff. So, Colonel, whenever we do get something, I will send you a message.
Yeah, sure, Vinay. We'll be in touch. Anything, any student wants to have a chat with me or wants to discuss anything with me, I am available on Saturdays, Sundays. You can pass on the number. I'll be sure to help. There's absolutely no issues.
Great talk. And it's so super to have a Stanislaus at the China border protecting our country.
Colonel Sheikh, it has been a pleasure also, yes.
Yes.
And of course, once again, from all the Stanislaus boys, past and present, you have added to that lovely, prestigious family of armed forces. And we hope that you will inspire more of our Stanislites. If parents might have some grievances, because I know a lot of parents are very worried when their children join, why they would not want their children to join the armed forces, because your life is at stake. It's a tough job. I mean, the dangers are there from day one. So a lot of them really don't encourage them. If there is something small you can say towards that to the parents, I would be grateful before you sign off.
Yeah. Okay. So parents, I must tell you, like I have been repeating, this you will be sending your child from your family into a bigger family. Believe me. Okay, into a bigger family where they will take care of your child just like you do. I have been taken care of that way. I can vouch for that. Okay, so you need not worry on that count. And a large number of my colleagues who are there in the army will vouch for that.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colonel, once again.
So we've come to the last part of our talk. Here I would like to ask Principal to join us to give us a vote of thanks.
I'm not able to unmute.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear you. Yes.
See me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Lana, we can hear you.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
We've lost you now.
Yeah. You are muted. It's coming. I don't know why.
Okay, we can hear you.
You can hear us. You have, okay. So good afternoon, everybody. And it's been such an informative and interesting morning for the boys. I think they've got lots and lots of practical tips that they have to absorb and process. For me personally, it was really thrilling to see all you Stanislites. I felt so proud listening to you. Stanislaus is a great school, but when we see you, then it's kind of, we feel that something we as teachers are doing, we are doing it right. So it was really, really great to see each and every one of you. Today's session would never have been possible without SSESA, the St. Stanislaus Ex-Students Association, and particularly Vinay, who is on the managing committee of SSESA. Every year he spearheads this program, and this year, in spite of the pandemic, the lockdown, and even the thunder and lightning outside, the show went on. So thank you, Vinay, from the bottom of our hearts. Thanks also to our compere, Peter D'Souza. He's a devoted alumnus, a true friend of Stanislaus, whose love for the armed forces is legendary. He's taken our boys all over India, and they've even reached the line of control because of Peter. So thank you, Peter, for doing such an excellent job.
My privilege for me to do that with our armed forces.
Each and every speaker today, Brian, Ranjit, Andrew, Shailesh, Sumit, Rohit, Colonel Asad Sheikh, thank you for your generosity and for your willingness to come and share your expertise today. It was great to have people like Sumit coming in from Dubai, all the local people here. I don't know whether Colonel Asad is in Mumbai or somewhere else.
Delhi.
He's speaking from Delhi.
Sitting in North right now.
Great.
Right now, the headquarters of military.
Okay, so Colonel Asad from Delhi, Sumit from Dubai, Rohit straight from the Trident, and it's a working day for him, and he came, he logged in from the hotel. So, it was so nice to see all of y'all. Thank you again. Finally, a big dhanyavad to all our Stanislites who have been watching. I think many of them couldn't log in, and they have been sending messages that they will watch the recorded program. So, my dear boys, our alumni just love the school, and they do this because they want the best for you. Your presence is the biggest thank you. If you have gained by today's program, it's wonderful. Some of the ex-students like Colonel Asad and Sumit have asked you to connect with them in case you need some help and advice. So do get in touch with them. Thank you once again. And I think with that, we can close the program. God bless all of you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. And boys, study hard and do well, like all the speakers you have heard today. So I will now shut the program down. Thank you, everyone.
I think you will be sharing the
Jai Hind,
record,
Colonel.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Vinay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Teacher
Vinay.
Anna.
Thank you, Andrew.
And all the best, boys. Your passion will drive you.
Yes. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Colonel Sheikh.
Thank you, Principal, and thank you, Peter and Ravi. All right. I will now shut this down. Thank you, everyone.